Stand up! New York Giant fans, we're live for the second straight day leading up into the draft. Draft in 2 short days. We're going to be doing this each and every day, alternating channels before we live stream the draft Thursday, Friday, Saturday for 3,000 hours. But Baddog, what's going on, my man?
I can't wait for those 3,000 hours. It'll be a lot of fun, as it always is. Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Another dreary, rainy day here in the Northeast. But the Entertainer and I are here to bring you some sunshine and talk about the draft and all the good things that go along with the lying season in the NFL.
Yeah, hopefully it's sunshine and rainbows, because everybody knows it's not always sunshine and rainbows when it comes to the New York Giants. All you got to do is go back and look at our Daniel Jones reaction. But let's take a look at everybody.
That's a thunderstorm of epic proportions.
Yes. Let's say hello to a couple people in the chat. A lot of our regulars in here: Afghanistan, diehard Giants fan, Cressley, Montauk Weller, John Silva, Andrew Christopher. Hi, how are you? Rosario, my dad, Jay Dimes, Will in the chat, Jackson in the chat, Mike in the chat, JC Silva in the chat. Thank you to everybody for being here. True Apples, man, thank you so much, buddy. He says, this team needs superstar caliber players badly. Neal or Tibbs are better be on this roster by Thursday. Both would put New York on a splendid trajectory. Let's start with Tibbs. There was something that came out today, and who knows? Like you said, it's smoke screen season. All along, I have said I don't expect Thibodeau to get to the New York Giants. You've seen a lot of mock drafts now having him going like 9, 10, 11. I still think he's going in the top 4. I would love it if the New York Giants took Thibodeau. I think he's a tremendously talented player. But news came out today that the New York Giants had a Zoom meeting, I think, with Thibodeau as recently as like yesterday or very recently, and they're showing some interest in him. So I wouldn't say I'd be shocked if we didn't take him, but I would be mildly surprised if the New York Giants did not take Kayvon Thibodeau if he's there at 7 for sure. 5, maybe they go with the tackle, depending on who's available and on the board. And you would have to think at least 1, if not 2 tackles would already be drafted if Thibodeau does drop to the Giants. So we'll have to wait and see until draft night. As far as his overall point in terms of the superstars, I'm in complete agreement with you. Listen, we need difference makers on this team. I've seen a lot of Giants fans this offseason talk about basically just trading down for the sake of it, to save cap space, to fill in more holes. Listen, we need difference makers. We need impact players. The Giants got 2 picks inside the top 7. If you could get 2 cornerstone pieces out of this draft and you were not blown away by a trade offer, you stay there and you take those 2 players. That's been my mindset all along.
Yeah, I completely agree. And again, this is why we're in the predicament that we're in, because we're drafting top 10 every year, top 5 most years. And we don't have an impact player outside of maybe Andrew Thomas. Again, we don't know what Tony's going to be, and he was drafted 20th overall anyway. But Daniel Jones has not taken that elusive step that we've been waiting for him to take. Saquon Barkley, unfortunately, has been injured for much of his career, and the offensive line has been an absolute train wreck. And again, this doesn't just go back to Gettleman's reign as GM. I talked about it, and I don't know if it was my last video. I think it was about the Kayvon Thibodeau thing, because supposedly the Giants weren't interested. Then Peter King came out yesterday and said the Giants are interested. And again, this is just, who knows, smoke and mirrors. But, I mean, you go back, Chris, we can go back to 2015. It started with Eric Flowers, bad pick. Eli Apple, bad pick. Evan Ingram, bad pick. Saquon Barkley, great talent, but it looks like it's going to be a bust. It doesn't look like he's going to finish his career with the Giants. Daniel Jones, again, for the first 3 years, we can't say that this guy has been a hit. You know, people want to defend him. I get it. But through the first 3 years of his season, you can make an excuse. It was Garrett. It's the line. It's the receivers. It's this. It's that. Whatever it is, it has not worked. And Andrew Thomas, yes, he seems to be the one guy that maybe we can depend on. And then Tony, he's got a lot of talent, but is he 100% committed to the New York Giants? That's another big question mark. Cannot miss with these picks. And like you said, you can't just trade down for the sake of trading down. The Giants need absolute impactful players. That's why the worst teams in the league pick in the top 10, because the NFL wants them to get out of the predicament they're in by selecting the highest talent prospects out of the collegiate levels. So the Giants have to hit on these picks. And yeah, you can't just trade back to trade back. If you love somebody, go after them. It's really that simple.
And I think we learned that lesson last year. A lot of Giants fans would die for the opportunity for Micah Parsons to be a New York Giant right now. So we'll see what happens on draft night. We'll see who's there, and we'll find out what the New York Giants draft board is, and we'll see. I think there are instances that could make a lot of sense for a potential trade down. I am not in favor of trading down past 9 personally. If you could get 2 future second-round picks by dropping to 8, with a team like the Falcons, I'm open to it. You could then couple your 2 second-round picks next year with your first-round pick and potentially move up if you need a quarterback. But the trade has to make sense, and we have to see who's on the board when the New York Giants are on the clock. But I'm looking forward to the draft. Side Guy, man, thank you so much for becoming a member. Stand up, new member. Thank you so much for joining the squad. And wanted to get to this real quick, and then we'll talk to you guys as well about, whatever you guys may want to talk about. The draft's right around the corner. We'll do a mock draft at some point during the stream. Kayla says, have you heard the recent news that Evan Neal didn't pass his medical? Teams say his injury concerns are too significant to overlook. Yeah, I did hear that. It came out from the guy who works for Walter Football, who does like a mock draft. He has like a mock draft website where they already have like their 2024 mock draft up.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, that's what like his whole website is centered around. And supposedly, according to him, he didn't name his sources and he didn't name the injury because he said he didn't want it. It wasn't. He didn't want it to potentially affect Evan Neal's draft stock even further. But according to his sources, that there already have been teams from within the NFL that have taken him off their draft board. He didn't say the number of teams. It might be 2. It might be 1. And it might not even be true. Who knows? It's not like Ian Rappaport is talking about this. But yeah, I did read about that. And we'll see if that has any impact throughout the draft. But yes, I did hear about that, which is not good news for the Giants. The more, if it's true, the more supreme tackle prospects, the better. But we'll find out soon within 2 short days.
Yep. Again, there's always this news that comes out right before the draft, whether it's something stupid off the field or an injury or this pops up or that I forgot the name of the guy from I think it was from Michigan a few years ago. He had the heart problem and he was, projected to go really high and he dropped all the way down. Maybe the 3rd, 4th round. The Raiders took him. I can't not remember the guy's name for the life of me, but it seems like there's always something that happens right before the draft that does hurt a player's draft stock. So like Chris said, man, hopefully that's not true. I don't know why somebody would make something like that up, but like you said, the more elite prospect tackles in the draft, the better for us. And we need an elite tackle in the worst way to bookend Andrew Thomas. No doubt about that.
Yeah. And we'll see if it's smoke or if it's not. It did say that not all the teams took him off their board. I still expect Evan Neal to go relatively early, but you're going to hear a lot of rumors leading up into the draft. Some of them are going to be true. Some of them aren't. My old sit bones, man. Thank you so much, man. Stand up, new member. Welcome to the squad, man. And let's get JL Pounds. He says, Daniel Jeremiah is saying Icky or Walker for the Jags at number 1. You happy with Cross or Neal and Icky are gone in the top 4? Yeah, I did hear about that. I didn't hear about it from Jeremiah specifically, but I have heard rumors that the Jaguars may now be slightly leaning, potentially going towards offensive linemen. There's 3 possibilities there, it seems, with Trayvon Walker, obviously Aiden Hutchinson, and potentially Ekwonu. That's the name that I've heard if they're going to go with an offensive lineman. I personally think for the Jaguars, I don't care that you franchise tag your left tackle this year. That's probably the best course of action, in my opinion. I'm not enamored with Aiden Hutchinson. I think he could be really good. I'm not saying he can't be, but I don't view him as like a Myles Garrett type prospect. And the same thing for Trayvon Walker. For me, Trayvon Walker has a ton of upside, but he's a huge gamble to take first overall. You just drafted your quarterback first overall last year with Trevor Lawrence. I think their mission should be to make his job as easy as possible. I understand that if you take a guy like Ekwonu, he may not start at the tackle. That does not mean that he will not be a tackle by year 2, by year 3, and he's certainly capable of playing the guard spot. So I would not be surprised at all if on draft night Ekwonu goes number 1 overall. But yeah, again, if that does happen, that's bad news for the Giants because now suddenly – a guy like Evan Neal could go 3 overall to the Texans, and now you're sitting with only one of the 3 tackles on your board at number 5 overall. So we're not hoping for that, but I don't think it would be a horrible decision, to be honest with you, Baddog, if the Jaguars elected to go that route.
No, I mean, listen, before all this stuff come out, and maybe even before the combine, we were just talking about prospects, I thought that the Jaguars should go with a tackle. Because you have Trevor Lawrence, you want to protect. We talked about this all the time. I mean, Giants fans screaming back Daniel Jones. We got to get some protection for Daniel Jones. Well, if you're Jaguars, why wouldn't you think about we got to protect Trevor Lawrence? You took him with the number 1 overall pick. You want him to be the future of your franchise. Well, you better protect the kid. I mean, he had a tough rookie season last year, had a terrible head coach. Urban Meyer's an absolute clown and a train wreck. He may be the head clown. I mean, I don't know. He's John Wayne Gacy-esque as far as a clown go. Joe Judge more of a Ronald McDonald clown. But regardless, I think it would be smart for the Jags to go in that direction to protect their, phenom quarterback. But yeah, that would be bad news for the Giants. But if the Jags decided to go line in the first round, with the first pick, that would not surprise me at all. Hopefully they do go Aiden Hutchinson because I want us to get the lineman, but I can't fault them if they want to protect Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, If I was a Jaguars fan, even though I know it may not be the sexiest of picks, that's probably what I'd be rooting for, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Joe Shane Train, man, thank you for being a member for 17 months. Says, what do you think of quarterback Carson Strong out of Nevada for the Giants in round 2 or 3? I mean, if they want to go that route, I'm not going to kill them if they take a quarterback in the 3rd round. At a bare minimum, he could provide as a long-term backup. And maybe a guy with some potential in the future that could develop into a starter. If they see something in him, he's not going to prohibit you from drafting a quarterback in future drafts. You're paying him next to nothing. I would rather address other needs, to be completely honest with you, Baddog. We have a lot of needs on this football team, and I kind of have the quarterback position, if Jones doesn't take that big leap, kind of focused on 2023. That's where I kind of want to address the position, and I want to do it relatively early. Carson Strong has a pretty big arm, but there's a reason he's being mocked to be going in the 2 to 3 round area. He's probably going to be a journeyman quarterback, but you never know. You see it all the time in the NFL. So, certain guys go later in the draft and they become starters. But me personally, 3rd round, I'm looking at continuing to address that offensive line, maybe getting a wide receiver, a tight end. I think there's so many needs on this team where we already have a stable backup quarterback. We got Tyrod Taylor. I'm worried about the starter next year. If Daniel Jones doesn't take the big leap, I'm not really concerned with taking a quarterback at some point in this year's draft. That's just my opinion.
And I'm in 100% agreement with you. I mean, if the Giants are going to take a quarterback in this year's draft class, you would do it with your top 10. You would take one of the elite prospects, because I don't think you're going to take a gamble on a 2nd round pick on a Carson Strong to be your future quarterback. You just gave Tyrod Taylor $17 million. You're going to ride with Daniel Jones this year. And if Daniel Jones isn't the guy, then you look forward to it next year. Tyrod Taylor can step in as your stopgap quarterback next season as the rookie develops on the sideline, learns the playbook and all this other stuff, and tries to get that education as far as film study and everything else goes. I just don't see them drafting a quarterback this season. It would just, like you said, there's so many other needs. I'd rather build up this team around whoever the future quarterback is, whether that's Daniel Jones, whether that's Bryce Young, whether that's somebody else in the future. If Daniel Jones comes out and has a big year, you'd have him there, right? If we went out and drafted Carson Strong and Daniel Jones balls out, like some people said, like yesterday with the guy say he thought he'd have 35 touchdowns and 8 picks. Well, say Daniel Jones does have a year like that. I don't expect it, but say he does. Then what do we do? Then what do you do? Then you're going to sit and go, God, well, Daniel Jones just had this huge year under Dable. We got a good team around him. Now it looks like he took the step forward. And now we got to let him go because we drafted a quarterback in 2022. Yeah. That's where my problem is with it. Let's see what Daniel Jones does. I've been on board with that the entire offseason. See where he is. Guys, if he stinks, well, you move on from him. But I just don't think it. I wouldn't take a quarterback this year if I was the Giants. I look at that next season.
And I think that's what they're going to do. I've honestly, I'm really not worried about it at all, to be honest with you. I don't think we're taking a quarterback. Lou says, with the 5th draft pick, the New York Giants select Ron Dane. Don't even get me started with that.
That's another good 1st round pick. Tyrone Wheatley, Derek Brown, Cedric Jones. I mean, listen, we've had some doozies over here with the Giants.
What was Dane? Dane was what, like 12th overall?
Yeah, he wasn't like a top 10 pick, but yeah, like 12th, 11th. He was around there.
Yeah. What a horrible pick that was. Super Guru Man, he says, thank you very much to Chris. The Mets are legit. Dude, that was an insane game. And yeah, I mean, listen, it's one game at a time. It's 1 month at a time. I'm excited. I'm not trying to get too excited because it's still only April, but for everybody that's downplaying it, I see it all the time on Twitter and my Discord. Oh, it's only April. The Mets always fall apart. This is a different team. We got Buck Showalter. We got a new owner. Last year, the Mets had a ton of injuries. Everybody underperformed. This is a different team. Max Scherzer looks like the guy that we paid him to be. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited for the Mets. And yeah, last night was definitely a signature win, that comeback.
Yeah, and I like that you're already talking smack to the Braves fans. That made me proud.
Yankee King, man. What's going on, man? In my opinion, the Giants better hope one of Neal or Kwanu are there at 5, and you can get a pass rush at 7. Yes. And Baddog, congrats on joining MYY News TV. I guess.
Pete and I are going to do a show like twice a month. That's pretty much what it is, and we'll see how it goes. It should be fun. I mean, Pete and I are very similar, have a lot of similar takes on the Yankees, and obviously that'll be fun working with those guys for sure. So I definitely was looking forward to doing Yankee content this season. And yeah, once the draft is over and we get into the summer, it'll be a lot of Yankee stuff on the channel for sure. But that'll be fun.
And thank you, buddy, man. I appreciate it. As far as what you said, I mean, listen, I'm of the opinion of I think they're going to tackle. If one of the 3 tackles are there, I think they're taking them. And I know a lot of Giants fans are scared off by Charles Cross, but I'm hoping for Ekwonu or Neal, but I'm completely fine with Cross, and I think that's what we're going to do. I'm not going to scream if we take Charles Cross. I kind of half expected, so I would not be surprised at all if they take him. As long as we get out of this with a high-end tackle, that's the most important thing to this draft.
Yeah, I agree. We need a tackle, no doubt.
Kylie says, what twice in the same week? We get Giants talk. Well, you're not going to just get it twice. You're going to get it tomorrow.
All week.
You're going to get it back here on Thursday before the draft. Then on Thursday night, we're going to be back on Bad Dogs. Then we're going to be doing all week.
Yes, all week, every day, Monday through Friday, 11 to 1, and every day of the draft. So by the time this week is over, you guys and girls will be like, all right, enough, Chris, and a Bad Dog. Need a break.
And
break for the faces for radio. We need a break.
She says, what twice the same week? And Giants talk must be draft week. If Linderbaum falls to 28, do we? Yeah, I mean, we've talked about that possibility, whether it be Linderbaum, whether it be any prospect that the Giants are in love with. You know, are you willing to move up 8 spots? And yeah, I think it depends on the prospect. I think it depends on how highly they have them on their board. But yeah, I think that's a distinct possibility. I mean, we did it back in 2019. That one didn't work out with DeAndre Baker. But I think the Giants are kind of in a position where you look at the back of the draft, there's multiple teams with 2 first-round picks. The Green Bay Packers, Kansas City Chiefs, I believe both of them have 2 first-round picks there in the back end. So they may be more than willing to move back to acquire more draft capital if it's only 7 or 8 spots. So I do think the Giants could potentially be in a spot if they love one of those prospects to move up 7 or 8 spots. And maybe the price is about a 3rd-round pick. And if you really like a guy like a Linderbaum, like you mentioned, or you know, one of these interior offensive linemen, or a very high-end wide receiver if he drops, you know, I think you at least entertain it. I think you explore your options.
Yeah, that's the good thing about having 5 picks in the top 81. And I mean, it didn't work out in 2019, but we did trade back up into the first round to get DeAndre Baker. So it's definitely possible the Giants move up. And when you have a 36 overall pick, it's pretty much a back end of the first round pick. It's very close. So it's not like you'd have to give up a lot more to move up. It's not like the difference between moving up to the 10th overall pick to the 3rd if you move from 36 to, say, 29. It definitely does not cost as much as far as draft capital goes. And I think we talked about yesterday, somebody brought it up yesterday, Chris, that maybe the Giants can move up with the Chiefs, give them 36 and James Bradbury or something like that, and maybe that entices them to do it. We don't have to give up any future draft capital, and we're able to get rid of Bradbury's contract. So it'll be interesting, which is why the draft is a lot of fun. You never know what's going to happen. But if Linderbaum is there, late 20s, and you can get up, you know me, I'm a big Linderbaum fan. So if there was any way the Giants could get a tackle and Linderbaum in this draft, I'm with Chris this year, man. I am dreaming about the blue wall.
Yeah, man.
It was nothing about pigs, but I am dreaming about walls.
Yeah, we're not going to call it hogs anymore. That reminds us too much of the dark days. But we're coming up with. I'm right now until maybe I'll change it, you know, during his tenure here. But right now we're going to call it the big blue wall, and Giants need to fill in some of the holes and some of the cracks on that wall. So definitely, if you're able to get a right tackle at 5 and trade up or to 28 or even stay at 36 and get a good interior offensive lineman, I think most Giant fans would be really happy.
Yes.
RK, man, thank you very much, man. How would you feel about the Giants taking a quarterback in the 2nd round? We kind of got asked this earlier at number 36, like Sam Howell or Desmond Ridder. Thanks and love the content. Go Big Blue. Listen, RK, if they do it, am I going to scream? No, because, I mean, I personally would look at it as a missed opportunity to potentially get another difference maker, whether it be a safety, whether it be a corner, for basically a dart throw at a quarterback when you still have Daniel Jones, who's going to be your stopgap quarterback this year, and you could go out and draft the quarterback in the following year. But at the same time, it doesn't prevent us from drafting a quarterback because there's no financial commitment there in 2023. But with all the holes this team has on their roster, do I think it's in the team's best intentions to draft a quarterback at number 36 overall? No, I don't. I think you could get a difference maker with that pick. If we don't go edge, we could take the kid from Penn State there. You could take a safety. You could potentially take a corner. You take a wide receiver. We have so many holes in this team, and there's going to be somebody there that drops. It happens every year that is projected to go inside the top 25 that the New York Giants can get their hands on. So do I think it's a good decision? No. But it is Joe Shane's first draft, and as long as they don't take a quarterback in the 1st round, I'm not going to crucify him for it. But do I think it's the best decision? No.
Right. Yeah, I'm in agreement. Like if we missed out on Thibodeau at 5 or 7, I mean, you get to 36, you could have a Beakway there, you could have Bonito there. There's a couple of really good edge rushers that could fall to the Giants at 36. And at this juncture, like Chris said, I just feel like an edge rusher, a corner, a safety, there's so much more important to the Giants this season than the quarterback is. Because if you're drafting a quarterback that early, even if we don't have a financial commitment to him, you've either wasted a pick if you're not going to commit to the guy, or you have committed to the guy and he's going to be your future quarterback. As a New York Giants fan, would you want Desmond Ridder as the future quarterback of the Giants? You want Sam Howell? Are these the guys that you want to go forward with? Do you think that they can win us a Super Bowl with the team that's around them now? Because remember, the Giants are still in rebuild mode. So you're going to have to rebuild around the quarterback. And maybe by the time you're actually there, these guys are already coming up on. Remember, they don't get a fifth-year option when they're drafted that late. So after 4 years, they're done. You'd have to re-sign them. So they could be into year 3 before finally they got a team around them. Then you got to make that financial commitment to the guy. And if they stink, well, then you're stuck drafting another quarterback. So I just feel like we got to build a really good team around a quarterback. But I feel like the quarterback should be something they address in the future, just not this season.
Yeah, I just don't think it's the year to do it personally. And if you're gonna take a quarterback, like you said earlier, be committed. Take him at 5. If you're in love with a quarterback, and if you're not in love with a quarterback, you shouldn't be taking one just to take one. That's my opinion on the matter, especially with the current state of this franchise.
Yep.
Bill, man, thank you very much, man. Praying for offensive line at 5 or 7 and a trading partner to give us one in 2023. We need Daniel Jones insurance. I mean, I think that's a lot of Giants fans' dream on draft night. Finding a trade partner that's willing to give us a ton to trade back. In the end, do I think it's going to happen? I don't know. I mean, there's been rumors that came out yesterday of the Pittsburgh Steelers general manager. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. That kind of slipped a little bit. He said he was going to talk about all the possibilities of potentially trading up, and he mentioned the 7th pick specifically that he'd like to find out the value for to move up from 20 to 7. Who knows if there's anything to that? I mean, he could have been just throwing out a random number for all that we know. But am I in love with the possibility of trading back all the way to 20? If I'm trading all the way back to 20, which is probably what it's going to take to get a future first-round pick, because the Saints don't have one at 16 and 19. I don't see the Falcons giving up a first-round pick or the Seahawks picking at 8 or 9, especially knowing that their team's not going to be very good next year, and you're only moving up 3 or 4 spots in a quarterback draft class where it's not thought to be the richest quarterback draft class to begin with. So the team that I view, I guess, is a potential team where we could get a 2023 first-round pick would be the Steelers. Am I willing to move back 13 spots with the Pittsburgh Steelers? Better be getting an absolute haul, because you're giving up on a franchise game-changing potential player at 7 to drop all the way to 20. That is a huge, gigantic drop. So for me to do that, I have to be blown away to drop from 7 to 20, because you're giving up a whole lot. And the way I look at it, Baddog, in terms of having the ammunition to trade up to get a quarterback, like Bill alluded to in that super chat, ideally you want an additional first-round pick, but I could trade my 2024 first if need be. If I'm absolutely in love with a quarterback, I could trade my 2024 first. I could find a way to at least have the possibility to move up in the 2023 draft class. Completely agree. And remember, last year we went from 11 to 20, but this is the difference, and I kind of touched on this yesterday. We knew the Bears are no good, and we knew the Bears are not going to be good, and that pick was going to be a high pick. At least we thought that. We didn't know. Nobody knows anything, really. Going to say, oh, I know this is going to happen. Well, you think it's going to happen. If it happens, then yes. But nobody really knows anything. Who knew the Bengals were going to the Super Bowl last year? But what we do know from track record is the Steelers are a pretty solid organization, and they are constantly picking 19th, 20th, 21, 22. They're always in the playoffs or around the playoffs. They always have a middle to the back end of the first round pick. So if you're trading back with the Steelers, it's very possible that for number 7, you're getting 20 this year and 20 next year. Right. Obviously, the Steelers have to give up more than just that. They'd have to give up probably a future second or a second this year or something else. Like Chris said, we would have to get a major haul to drop back 13 spots. That's a long ways back. With the Bears, it made sense. With the Steelers, they'd have to give us a lot more than just, a third and a first. They would have to give up a couple seconds and a first, because, again, I just believe the Steelers with a good quarterback, they were pretty good without any type of quarterback play. I mean, Roethlisberger was okay, but he's old. He's not the same he used to be. You get a guy like Malik Willis with Pittsburgh, man, they could be legitimate because they got a good team around him already, and he fits there. So the Giants, again, I would be more concerned about, oh, man, we might get 2 top 20 picks for the 7, and I don't like that. So yeah, and the other thing I look at, what do I actually, if we're going to trade down, like I said earlier, I actually think trading down to like 8 makes more sense, because you're still going to get a pretty high-end talent there, and you're probably going to get 2 future seconds, because if you look at the Jets trade Well, one this year and one in the following draft. Because if you look at the Jets trade where they traded up for Darnold from 6 to 3, they gave up 3 seconds. So I think 2 seconds from 5 to 8 is reasonable to expect. And if you get 2 seconds, you figure the Falcons, kind of the opposite of what you said about the Steelers. The Falcons are going to suck next year, especially if they have a rookie quarterback. So that pick may be, like you were saying about our second-round pick this year, basically a poor man's first-round pick where it's 36, 37, 38. And suddenly if the Giants are in a position where they have to draft a quarterback, which would mean we probably have a top 10 pick next year, you got to pick in the 40 range. Along with that 37th pick, you can take those 2 picks plus your 10th pick, possibly move up into the top 5 or 6 and go and grab your quarterback that way. So I'm not against trading down, but I think it needs to make sense. And I think the trade with the Steelers, I have to be absolutely blown away. I think a trade with the Falcons makes a lot more sense, or the Seahawks, because you still stay in that spot where you could still get a pretty, high-end player, premium pick. So I'm not in love with dropping from 7 to 20. I'm just not.
Yeah, with the Falcons, like you said, it makes perfect sense because if the Falcons are moving up to 5, it is to get the quarterback. So that's not going to affect our pick whatsoever. So pretty much you've gotten draft capital and you're still going to get somebody that you wanted at 5 or 7 to fall to you at 8. You're going to get that guy because the Falcons are not going to take one of your guys if they're trading up to 5. They're taking a quarterback. We're not. So regardless, you'd still have to worry about what the Panthers do, but then you have 7 and 8. So you're going to get the 2 players or 2 out of the 3 players that you want anyway. And like you said, you'd probably get a back end of the, or an early second-round pick next season for that. And
along with the second-round pick this year.
Correct. And their second-round pick this year is higher.
Right.
So if you get those 2 picks, that is a good trade for the New York Giants, in my opinion, as well. So that, that's definitely a possibility. And it makes sense for the Falcons to do it. And it makes sense if the Seahawks wanted to go that route, because what are they pick a 9?
Yeah, basically the same pick. It's 8 and 9.
So yeah, that makes more sense. I'd be more willing to do that just because, like I said, I just feel like the Pittsburgh Steelers, if they went up and got the quarterback they wanted, they're going to be a good team again next year, and they're not going to be picking top 10. I don't know when the hell the Steelers will ever pick top 10 again. That's the difference between a well-run organization and what the hell we're doing over here. So we want to be where the Steelers are. We want to be the team that's competitive every year, even when they have a down year. They're still a playoff contender. When we have a down year,
when we have a down decade.
Right.
That's what we've had.
Right, exactly.
I mean, the Giants have missed the playoffs more times since their last Super Bowl than the Pittsburgh Steelers have missed the playoffs since their existence in the Super Bowl era. Think about that.
That's insane. That is an insane statistic.
Yeah, the Steelers have only missed the playoffs. No, not missed the playoffs. I take that back. Finished under 500. I think that's the statistic.
That's still insane.
The Steelers have only finished under 500 7 times since the Super Bowl era. And the Giants since 2012 have missed at least 6 or 7 times. So, I mean,
we've made it once.
Well, the playoffs once. I'm saying.
You're right.
Yeah, but either way.
2012, I think we've been about, I think it's just once. 2012, we were 9 and 7. 2016, we were 11 and 5. Every other year, we're under 500.
Under 500, which is insane.
And we've only won our opening game once since 2009, and that was in 2016. Once in 13 years, we won our opener. You know what? Hot take. This year, we win our first game. Let's go, Giants!
As long as it's against the Jaguars, we got a shot.
Right.
John, thank you very much. He says, Wink likes DBs over pass rushers. Wink has said pass rushers are overrated. I've never heard that. I'm not saying you're wrong. I've never seen that quote. But I do definitely agree with you that he prefers DBs. When you look at the way that the Baltimore Ravens built their defense while he was there, they built it around coverage. He is a guy that believes he can manipulate pressure through his scheme as long as he can cover well. So I agree with you. I do think the New York Giants are going to prioritize coverage in this defense. If we're going defense at 7, I see Shane taking Sauce or Hamilton, not Tibbs. It's going to depend on how they feel about the player. Listen, if they feel Tibbs is an elite pass rusher, they're probably going to take him. I do think Sauce is their number 1 guy, though. I do agree with you on that if he's there. Now, we've heard rumors that Sauce may be going 3 or 4 to either the Jets or Houston, but I think Sauce is just a perfect fit for the type of defense that the New York Giants are going to want to run. And if you cap on the fact that we're probably going to lose James Bradbury, it makes it make even more sense. So, John, I agree with you. I do think they are going to prioritize coverage. And I say it all the time. The Buffalo Bills did the same thing with their defense. Really only over the last year or 2 did they start to go out and get edge rushers, but they built that defense around strong coverage. So, John, I agree with you. I think that's where they're going to target. But that doesn't mean that they won't take Kayvon Thibodeau if they think he's, an elite talent, which they certainly could feel that way.
Let me ask you this, and again, this is just, whatever, throwing it out there. what do you think it would take up? What if the Giants decided we really do want Sauce in the worst way, and they wanted to trade up from 5 to 3 with the Texans? What do you think that costs the Giants? You think it probably wouldn't cost us a second to move up 2 spots. Do you think it would cost us a second?
What I'll say, I'd have to go back and look at the trade. I don't remember it off the top of my head, and it was for a quarterback. But the trade where actually I could pull it up right now, I would think it'd be a fairly comparable price to the Mitch Trubisky trade, where the Bears moved up 1 spot from 3 to 2.
Mm-hmm.
I would think it'd be a fairly comparable spot because that's only 1 spot, but it's picked 2 instead of 3.
Right.
So whatever that was, I think it was like 2/3. I could be wrong. They gave up the 67th pick and let me see. It would be whatever that trade is. I can't find it right now. I would think it would be comparable to that.
We have the 67 pick. You think the Giants, is that a good move? If they really like Sauce, if that's really the guy they want, and Wink Martindale's like, I got to have this guy for my defense. Do you give up 5 and 67 to move up to 3 to get him?
If you are convinced that he absolutely will not be there at 7, and you think he's by far the best defensive player,
yeah, I'm saying move up from 5 to 3.
5 to 3 rather. Yeah, you at least entertain it. Now, the risk you run if you do that, you may not get a tackle because depending on what happens at 1, what if the Jets take a tackle? If Sauce is suddenly off the board, and then Carolina could take a tackle, you may not get one of the top 3 tackles if you do something like that.
Right.
So you have to consider that as well.
Yeah. That's why they get paid the money, and we sit here and talk about they suck. That's why we have an easy job.
Personally, if we're going to trade up, I prefer the back end of the first round as opposed to.
I do too.
Trading up into the.
I was just throwing it out there because crazy things happen on draft night, man. You never know.
Yeah, for sure. Joe Shane Train, man, thank you so much, man, for the $1 donation, man. I appreciate it, buddy. And let's get to the next one. Thigh Hercules in the chat. Who would you put at right guard, Joe Judge? Who would you put at right guard, Joe Judge, Gettleman? I don't know what you mean by the end of that, but in terms of your question about the right guard, a lot of people on Twitter brought this up to me, and it was a really good point. I would put the more experienced guard on the right side. And obviously that's Glowinski because you're going to be starting a rookie right tackle. So that would be my line of thinking. I would go with the more experienced guard because I still think we're going to draft the guard in this year's draft, but I would probably put the more experienced guard next to the young right tackle. I think that would be my line of thinking.
Yeah, it would be nice to have Glowinski, Linderbaum, and Neal. That'd be pretty good. That'd be a pretty good start with Thomas. I'm dreaming of the big blue wall myself. I saw your thing on Twitter about that. And I'm like, yeah, Chris, I can get on board with that.
Let's go.
I can get on board with that for sure.
John Laterno's in the chat. Give him a Stella.
Stella!
And stand up, fellas. Y'all need to become Eagles fans and dismiss the clown show the Giants have been. Y'all don't deserve. Oh God, I would never become a Philadelphia Eagles fan. Listen, I tip my cap. You guys have done a good job over the last 2 years. Your general manager has done a good job rebuffing your football team. I still can't stand your team. I hate your team more so than any other team in the 4 major sports. You couldn't pay me to become a Philadelphia Eagles fan.
Yeah, and not only that, we just been a clown show recently. I mean, you guys have been a clown show your whole career, your whole franchise's existence, pretty much since the Super Bowl era. So, congratulations on finally winning a Super Bowl 5 years ago. I mean, now all of a sudden you think you can hang with the big dogs, the Giants who have won 4, and the Cowboys who won 5, and Washington who's won like 10 games twice in 30 years, and you still haven't caught them. And all of a sudden you think you're on our level. But that's okay. Keep thinking it. The Eagles stink. Hurts stinks. I hate the Eagles. And yeah.
And at the end of the day, Baddog, their most famous statue is a fictitious movie character. That's all you need to know about the city of Philadelphia. We have the statue.
Right. They have a statue of a fictitious character that was born in New York.
I mean,
you guys eat horse feces. I don't know what to say.
We're not making it up. Pencil Man, thank you very much, man. How about Pittsburgh 20th first next year and 2nd and 3rd this year, and a 2nd next year? Yeah, it would have to be something like that. They're 2nd this year, 2nd next year, and the 2 first. It would have to be something. I would have to be absolutely blown away. And personally, I don't think that the Eagles are going to be willing to do that. To be completely honest with you, but we'll see. The Steelers, rather. I still got the Eagles on my mind. Yeah. I don't think they're going to be willing to do that, but. We'll see. I think the Steelers, when push comes to shove, I do think there is at least some truth to the story that Mike Tomlin does like Malik Willis, but I think they're going to wait and see if he starts to drop a little bit, and they could move up for a much cheaper price than moving up to 7.
Yeah.
I think they're looking in the, I don't know, I'd have to look at a draft board right now, but probably in like the 12 to 13 range, where maybe it would only require like a future first for them to move up and not have to include additional seconds and things of that nature. I'd be surprised on both ends if the Giants are willing to drop back to 20 and if the Steelers are willing to give up what it would take to move up to 7. But that's why, that's why we play it out on draft night. It should be fun.
Yeah, listen, we're going to look at a draft board here later today. And we're going to do the first round mock. So you guys were asking for that yesterday. So we'll do that. We'll get a good look at it today.
Do they have a long snapper section
for the Eagles? Well, when we do that, we'll definitely find their team on Thursday. Yes. Yes,
Jeremiah, there's a big Eagles fan. What's up, man? What's up, fellas? I hear there's an excellent punter you guys can get with the first pick, but for real, though, I know getting nervous because, well, Yeah, listen, I'm always nervous before draft night. And listen, I wouldn't be opposed to taking a punter in the 6th round, just not in the first. Right. Our punter's been absolutely dreadful the last couple of years, so I was glad that we got rid of Riley Dixon, but we better not be taking a punter in the 1st round. Yeah. You guys may be taking a quarterback in the 1st round because we know that Howie loves quarterbacks. So
yeah, maybe a quarterback and a wide receiver. Yeah, Howie loves to take those every year.
So we'll see, Jeremiah. Should be fun, man. But thanks for popping in, buddy.
I see Sam Howell in London in your future.
Yeah, I think Sam Howell will be a fantastic pick.
I think he'd be great. Maybe even Kenny Pickett. I mean, he played for Pitt, so he wouldn't have to move states. So
you know what? Why don't they take both? Because at that point, you got 3 chances between Hurts, Howell, and Pickett. You have 3 chances to go out and get a franchise quarterback. I think that should be the route the Eagles take. I agree.
Maybe Carson Strong fits the bill there. Yeah, maybe they should just take quarterbacks with everyone. Maybe they should take wide receivers with every one of their picks, and maybe they get one right.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
That could happen.
Dylan, he says, Bo Melton going to be the steal of the draft in the late rounds. Kid's a stud who has the ability to just never add the quarterback in college to reach full potential. He's a burner. That's all I hear about the guy. He plays for Rutgers. He's a burner. He's projected, I think, to go in the 5 to 6 round area. A lot of Giants fans probably like him because it kind of coincides probably with their college football team. Yeah. Rutgers plays in Jersey. But that's what I've heard about him. The Giants did show at least some interest in him. They went through his pro day. So we'll see if they end up taking him later in the draft this year.
And listen, when you get to that part of the draft, I've always said just take the fastest guys in the draft at that point because you can't teach speed. You either have that or you don't. Maybe you can develop a guy late in the draft. Maybe you can develop and make his skills a little bit better, but you can't develop speed. You either have that or you don't. So I've always said, like, when the Giants got, and again, he's never made the team, and I don't know where he is now, but when they got Derek Dillon out of LSU as an undrafted free agent, I was like, why not? I mean, the kid runs a 4.29 40 or 4.27, whatever it was. I'm like, yeah, I don't think that's a bad move at all. Most of those guys don't catch on, but at that point, like I said, if you can develop you have a better chance of developing a guy than making him faster. So if they got a lot of speed like that, it might not be a bad time to take a shot at a Melton there.
Yeah, we'll see. Tyler says we need Walker to go in the top 4. Yeah, I would like that. I've come out and said I wouldn't be upset if we take Trayvon Walker if he falls to the 7 area. I know a lot of Giants fans don't love the idea of that. Some do. But I would much prefer him to go top 4. I think he's a risk. And I personally think it's too big of a gamble to take first overall. There's some of the reports we've heard about the Jacksonville Jaguars. We'll see if it's smoke. And one thing I've thought about with the Jaguars, because normally if you're at the first pick, Baddog, you've now had 3 months to think this over. Mm-hmm. You've gone to all these pro days. Yeah. You've gone to the combine 2 days before the draft. They probably know who they want to take if they stay at 1.
Right.
My line of thinking with the Jacksonville Jaguars, because you're hearing all these names that are coming out before the draft, is they're kind of trying to let all the teams around the league, listen, we're kind of indecisive. We like 3 or 4 guys. We're open to trading down. That's my line of thinking with the Jaguars. That doesn't mean it's going to happen, but that's what I'm thinking. I think they're throwing out smoke screens to see if there's some interest for somebody to potentially come up, grab number 1, get a guy like Aiden Hutchinson. They could drop back to 3, still get a guy that they really like. That's my line of thinking.
They definitely could. And I don't know if you guys can hear that in the back. Actually, Chris, earlier it was the recyclable truck. The garbage truck is out here today. They're taking all the 2021 Giants and removing them from the area today so we can start fresh in 2022. So all the garbage is out there on the curb. They're there right now, removing all the trash. Gettleman, Judge, bye-bye.
Gettleman's already in Cape Cod. He's been in Cape Cod for a while. Judge is back with the Patriots.
Drinking Miller Lite or whatever the hell he drinks.
Yeah.
Coors Light, whatever that was.
Yeah. Diego, what's going on, man? Hey, Chris, who do you think we're taking at 36? I honestly, and thank you, man. I appreciate it. I can't give you an honest answer with that. I will give you an answer after the first round, but the second round is so unpredictable. My quick answer to you is I don't think they're going to go based off need. I don't think they're going to go based off position. I think they're going to go based off the best available player on the board because we have so many needs on this team. And I think there's going to be somebody, and I don't know what player or position it's going to be, that is going to drop that should not. And I think that will be the player that the New York Giants are looking at. But I could see it being wide receiver. I could see it being safety. I could see it being linebacker, edge, corner, depending on what we do in the first round. That's another thing I have to see what we do with our first 2 picks before I even, think about the possibilities in the second round. But I think they're going to go for BPA. I'll say that for sure. And we'll see. Hopefully a really good player drops to us with
like
that.
I said, if they do not get the pass rusher in the first round, maybe they go with Beakway or Benito at 36. Those are definitely some. When I've done a lot of mock drafts, both of those guys end up being there. So Benito not nearly as good as Kenneth Murray was coming out of Oklahoma, but still a very good edge rusher, very high motor guy, high effort guy. I like those type of players. But like Chris said, I think it depends on what we do with our first 2 picks. And if they get the players they want, then maybe they do go BPA there. And I don't know. It'll depend on what this regime does. Some teams draft on need and some teams really just go BPA. So Chris mentioned before too, it happens a lot. Like you said, there's going to be a guy that's top 25 that drops to 36 and the Giants are like, all right, we need to take that guy.
And I think in that scenario, you do that. Even if we don't take an edge in with the first 2 picks, I think in that scenario, if there's a guy that you have ranked much higher than what may be a more important need at 36, I think you take that player because the Giants have so many needs on this football team. So we'll see what we do on draft night. We'll see who drops to us at 36th overall, but they could go any way at 36. I think in the first round it's pretty cut and dry. I think it's a tackle, and I think it's either a corner or an edge. I think that's what we're doing. Unless we trade down, then everything changes. But at 36 and beyond, I could see the Giants doing anything. So we'll see. Ben Manny says, I know it's not really a need, but Brisker in the second if he falls. I like Brisker. I had Brisker going to the Giants in my first 6-round mock draft.
He is a need, though. We do need a safety.
Yeah, we definitely need a safety.
We do need a safety.
Yeah.
That is definitely a need. Yeah.
But the more research I've done with the safety prospects, Petre may make more sense because of his versatility and his ability to play all over the field. It'll depend on who's there, but I'm a big fan of Brisker. Brisker's a really fun player to watch. I do think he would complement Xavier McKinney fairly well. He's an in-the-box safety. He's a hard hitter. So he's a guy that I do like in that 36 range. So I definitely got my eye out for him as a potential second-round pick.
Yeah, it's definitely possible we take a safety there. We need, like I said, we got rid of Logan Ryan. We're down to 2 safeties pretty much. Secondary is a need, and with Wink liking to blitz, we're going to need some guys that can cover out there. So definitely possibility that we take him at 36.
Luis, he says, what does a successful season look like in your opinion? Or what would you like to see? Could we make some noise in a subpar NFC East? I mean, listen, I think everybody in the chat wants me to say playoffs. And I'm not saying that I'm happy when we lose, but if you want me to be realistic and look at the situation the Giants have been presented with going into this year, we have needs all over this football team. And I think you also have to account for we have a new coaching staff. And I think it takes a little bit of time for them to get acclimated to the schemes and so on and so forth. So do I think this team's going to hit the ground running? I mean, I hope they prove me wrong. I hope they go out there and win 10 or 11 games. I'm also not going to discount the NFC East. I don't think the NFC East is as bad as it's been in prior years. I think the Cowboys are still a good team. I think they've taken a step back, but I think they're still a good team. I think the Eagles are a decent to good team as well. They're pretty strong in the trenches. I think they got an upgrade at the Washington got an upgrade at the quarterback spot, but I still think the Eagles are in that. I think the Cowboys, Eagles, and Washington are all in that 8, 9, 10 win range. So I don't think there's a ton of pushovers in this division. I'm not saying it's the creme de la creme, but I don't think it's a Looney Tune division like it was 2 years ago. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I don't think a team in this division is going to win the division with an under 500 record. As far as a successful season of the Giants, I think 6 to 7 wins, playing competitive football for 4 quarters, not getting blown out, looking like you know what the hell you're doing on the field, and the players believing in Brian Daboll and the coaching staff, giving 100% ever, looking like they're enjoying playing football. You want to see them become more competitive instead of standing around. Like we would go into the year, especially when Jones got hurt. But most weeks, even with Jones there, we know we're not beating Tampa. We know we're not beating Kansas City. We doubted we could beat Dallas. Like
the Rams.
You don't want to, the Rams. Like you don't want to go into games going, we got no chance. For me, by the end of the season, no matter who we're playing, I'd like to say, I think we can beat these guys. I think we can play with these guys. And you want to just see them progressively get better. Like Chris said, I don't expect the team to hit the ground running. New coaching regime. You're going to have a bunch of new players on this team. It's going to take some while for them to get acclimated to one another, especially on the offensive line. Those guys are going to have to build that chemistry together. You have a completely different offensive line than you had last year. So it's going to take some time. Now, I don't want to hear Daboll come on and go, well, I'm using the first 4 weeks.
No, you don't want to hear that. I agree
in the preseason because I'll go down to Jersey and I'll smack his face if he does that. Okay. I don't think he's going to do that, but I want to see them get better. I want to see them play better. Of course, I want them to win. Of course, I'd love them to prove everybody wrong and go 11-6 and make the playoffs. But is that realistic looking at it right now?
Listen, here's what I'll say. It can happen.
Right.
It happened for the Eagles last year. Nobody expected it.
It happened for the Bengals. Now, we don't have Joe Burrow, though.
But am I going to go into the year expecting that? No. For me, I think this year, like you were saying, is about progress specifically on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, the last 2 years, the Giants have been dead last, basically, in offense. Over the last 2 seasons in the NFL, we brought in a head coach who was thought to be a guy that is going to significantly improve our offense. We've already focused heavily on the offensive line in the offseason, and we're going to continue to do so, I believe, early on in this year's draft. So for me, it's about the growth of that offensive line from between the first half and the second half, and seeing this offense mature and get better. I mean, I think over the last 8 or 9 games this year, what would I like to see and what do I think is a fair expectation, provided we don't have a ton of injuries? I want to see this offense over the last 8 or 9 games at least be near or at league average. I think those are fair expectations. If Brian Daboll is as good as some people feel he is. I'm not saying I expect it over the whole season, but I want to see progress over the second half of the year and as the year progresses. That's my opinion on it. And I want to go into 2023 feeling that this offense is starting to grow and there's room for a lot more growth. That's my take on this year.
Yeah, I agree. I'd also like to see Daniel Jones give us a reason to consider franchising him. That's another thing I would like to see.
Yeah. But I mean, that goes hand in hand with the offense, but yeah, absolutely. NY Giants 26 says hypothetical trade. Say the Giants get Neal and Sauce. The Giants trade back into the first, trade Bradbury and pick 81 for pick 30 from Kansas City. Draft Treylon Burks, the wide receiver. Yeah, I mean, listen, I said that earlier. I didn't mention him by name, but I said I'd be open to a wide receiver if there was a guy that dropped that most people feel shouldn't be. To me, they could trade up for anything. If they feel the guy's a top 20 player and he drops to that 28 to 30 range and they're in love with the guy, yeah, we could certainly use a number one threat on the outside. So you could throw out 10 names and I'd be like, yeah, I'd be open to that. But yeah, a high-end wide receiver is certainly a possibility.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And Art says, I really like Sauce, but the Giants trading up to 3 for Sauce would be DEFCON 1 Avengers level. Love you, Art. I don't think we're not doing that.
We're not doing that.
Yeah, I think Baddog was just trying to go over all the scenarios, which is always, fun to go over. But I'm with you. I don't know if I would call it DEFCON level 3, but I would be very nervous that a tackle would not get to us at 7, especially if one went in the first 4 picks if we went and did that. So I don't think it's in the best interest. If anything, with those 2 picks, I want the Giants to trade down, not trade up. Potentially, like I said, I'd be completely open to trading back up into the back end of the first round, though. LA Yankee King. If reports of less than 15 players have first-round grades, would you ask for a mega haul in return? Of course I would. Yeah, 100%.
Definitely.
And I don't know where you read that report, LA Yankee King, but I'm not saying it's not true. I don't know if it is or isn't, but regardless of what the reports were, if I'm dropping 13 spots and I'm picking in the top 7 of any draft and a team's coming up for a quarterback, I'm ripping you off. Otherwise, I'm standing pat. I saw Zach Rosenblatt yesterday come out with a tweet that said that the Giants may have to take 75 cents on the dollar. Well, then I keep my dollar.
Right.
If I'm trading down from 7, you're coming up and getting a quarterback, I better be getting $1.10.
That's right.
I better be getting some value there. So, I'm going to want a mega hole regardless of what teams feel about the top 15 picks and beyond in the first round of this year's draft.
Right. $1.10. That's about what the Giants were worth at the end of the year last year. So let's get better. Let's get better.
David, man, thank you. Says build the wall. Yeah, man. We need it, man. Big blue wall, man. Whatever you guys want to call it, I don't care. But let's build the wall. Let's get this thing situated, and let's get a strong offensive line in here. Roldy, man, what's going on, man? 2 more days. Baddog, I don't know if I saw. I would make you my DC. I was picking my staff. Sorry, Christopher, I love you, but you would not be on my staff. Dan, I know, Roldy. I know. Roldy would have. No, Roldy, I would be on your staff. You would have me as the toilet cleaner. That's what Roldy would have for me. He'd have me as the toilet cleaner, and that's okay. we disagree on a lot of things, and I'm completely okay with it, Roldy.
I can tell you this, Roldy. After the first month of the season, people were like, fire that freaking clown. That guy don't know what the hell he's doing because I'd be like, blitz. We just blitz. Just go. Everybody go. I want an 8-man blitz. I want a 9-man blitz. 3rd down and 15 blitz. No soft zone. Aggressive. Maybe 3rd and 15. I'm not. Maybe I'm zoning there. But 3rd and 6. Get rid of that damn ball. I'm going after you. Yeah. And then we get burned a lot, and they go, okay, this guy don't know what the hell he's doing, and I wouldn't know what the hell I was doing. But I appreciate it, Roldy.
Aggressive. Well, that's kind of what we got in there now.
That's true. Yeah,
he's going to blitz the hell out of the
good. We need that.
Rakib says, have a feeling the Giants are going to draft Willis. I have a feeling you're wrong, but we'll find out in 2 short days. But I don't.
I'll be honest with you. I can't see that out. I think the Giants have as much chance of drafting Bruce Willis as they do Malik Willis. But we'll see.
Hey, Bruce Willis did retire from acting. Maybe he is looking to become an actor.
Maybe he is. And he's bald. So he's got that going for him, too.
Pandemonium says Dylan plays for you're talking about Derek Dillon.
That's why our subscribers are the best. Yeah, because of that right there. I just say I wonder where Derek Dillon is, and bang, there he is. I gotta. Is he doing it? Does anybody know if he's doing any good there? Might have to check that. I've not watched one USFL game.
No, I haven't either. I've tried to get into it before, like the off-season NFL, the XFL, and the AAF. When they did, I just can't get into it. It's just I don't know.
The AAF was terrible.
I think for fans that don't we like baseball.
Yes.
The fans that are like only football fans, I think they try to get into it because they're not a fan of other sports. So
the AAF was horrible. I forgot about that. That was terrible.
Cy Guy says it will take 1+ years to de-Gettleman this team. Yeah.
So the rebuild is.
I think you're looking at 3 years. Well, maybe 2 if Daniel Jones takes a significant leap this year. But if he doesn't, I think you're looking at 3 years. And it is what it is. You got to hope that these guys build the right team. As long as we see progress and this team starting to grow, hopefully we get sustained success. That's what we're all hoping for.
Exactly.
Nikki, what's going on, buddy? My Italian uncles hope all is well, about to graduate from College Liberty.
Nice.
There you go. Tell Malik we said hi. Let's get together for a mock or two. Christian
that was Joe Shane. I had to cut
there you go. Christian Harris is my guy round 2. You like the linebacker prospect? Yeah, I mean, maybe on Thursday we'll have some of you guys video in, and we'll do some mock drafts. I don't know. We'll do something fun, Nikki. But congratulations on the graduation. Thank you for popping in. And hopefully we end up getting who you want on draft night. I think you want to have a Neal because you're a big Alabama fan, so I'd be completely okay with that.
Yeah, and let me just say it: Liberty, 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 Liberty. I might see the word. That's all I think about.
Octave, what's up, fellas? Draft week is here. Unfortunately, that's been the most exciting week for us Giants fans for the last decade. Yeah. And
most times we walk out disappointed, as we do every year.
And hopefully that changes this year. Hopefully that changes. And we start trending towards having playoff games. But
spring's eternal, baby. Let's go.
We got top 7 picks this year, so it should be fun to see what we get.
Should definitely be.
Nick says NTW listening from I don't know what you said you're listening from English class. Well, I hope you don't get expelled, Nick. But Nick, if your teacher's a Giants fan, let her know about our YouTube channel. We'd appreciate it.
That's right.
And Blake says, what will the 5th-year option outcome be? I say they're not gonna give it to Jones, and I would be shocked.
There's no reason to, because like you said, next year financially we're much better. We're in a much better situation, and if he's great, you can tag him.
Yeah, I think it's 20,
this is a big risk to do it this year.
Yeah, it's $22.5 million. I believe I read that today from Dan Duggan. And it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, you got a quarterback that's coming off of injuries, missed almost a season's worth of games throughout his first 3 years. You have a guy that Joe Shane never drafted in the first place. Why would he want to further commit himself to a player before he sees more growth out of the player? So I'd be very surprised if the New York Giants extend Daniel Jones on the 5th-year option. That's not to say that they're not going to keep him if he has a really good year next year, but I don't think they're going to further commit themselves to him before he proves that he's worthy of it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If you're Joe Shane and you're coming in there and you did not draft Daniel Jones, and he, like I said, he hasn't proven he deserves $22.5 million for next year. with his first 3 seasons. So if you're Joe Shane, why would you go, yeah, let me commit an extra year to this guy for $22 million that the last GM drafted, and the Giants have been a train wreck since since Jones has been there. It just, to me, financially,
limit your options as a GM.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a great point. Yeah, he'd be limiting his options if he did that. So,
so I just don't, whether it be affecting potentially next year's draft class if Jones falls on his face, but you still feel like you're somewhat committed to your quarterback, or whether it be committing yourself in terms of salary for a guy that you may not want there next year.
Right.
So I just don't see the need for it. Had Gettleman still been here, yeah, it's very possible that we would have picked up the 5th-year option, because that was Gettleman's draft pick. But being the chains here, I'd be very surprised, especially like I said with the injuries. Charlie, what's going on, man? Huge Giants fan from the UK, hoping for Neal and Sauce at 5 and 7, but opinions on taking a Jabo and tight end on day 2. I'm not against the Jabo at 36.
Me neither.
It's kind of a stash guy, right? Because he's more than likely not going to play.
Like Jalen Smith was kind of that type.
Yeah, he's not going to play for half a season if you take him, but this was a guy.
Jack. I think Miles Jack is a guy that had an injury problem, but it was like projected to go really high. I think that's the guy I'm thinking
he
of.
Still went relatively high, if I'm not.
Yeah, he went like third. I don't forgot, but it was before we picked in the second round, so it was like 35, 36. So
yeah. So I mean, I think a Jabo. Yeah, I think he's a possibility in the second round. He's a stash guy. He's a guy that was projected to be a top 10 pick before the injury. So it's a possibility if he's still there. As far as a tight end. Maybe at 81. I'm not in love with taking a tight end personally before that with our 2nd, 3rd round pick, because I mean, I know it's a need for sure, but there's a lot of good tight ends in this draft in that range, in that 3 to 4 to 5 round area. I don't think that you force the pick. And now if there's a tight end on your board that is the best player available, of course you take him. It's a need, but I don't see the Giants taking a tight end definitely in the first 2 rounds, maybe at pick 67 if they really like one that potentially drops. But yeah, I think it's at least a decent possibility that we could take one with one of those 2 3rd-round picks.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I'd have no problem if they wanted to take a chance on a top 10 talent that just happened to get hurt.
Yeah. Oh, with the Jabo for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Octave says, interesting that Walker is the betting favorite to go number 1 to the Jags. Might be good for the Giants if that's the case. That's going to I mean, who knows? But there's a good chance that could change leading up into the draft. That happens every draft. I remember Baker Mayfield in 2018, you didn't hear it really until like the day of the draft, or maybe the day before the draft, that he was going to be the number 1 overall pick. And then all of a sudden that's where all the heat went. So this could change drastically days leading up into the draft. Like I said earlier, my opinion on the matter, and maybe they will take Trayvon Walker. I think the Jaguars are trying to let the league know we're open for business, and we don't know who we want to take because they're looking to trade down, or at least want to be open to the possibility of potentially trading down. I think they know who they want to take. But you've heard Aquanu, you've heard Walker, you've heard Hutchinson. But yeah, some of the recent smoke has been them potentially taking Trayvon Walker. I'll believe it when I see it.
You know what's interesting, Chris? You go back to Baker Mayfield. I wonder how the draft plays out with the Giants if Cleveland takes Saquon number 1 overall. I wonder what that does to us.
I mean,
I wonder if that means Darnold would have been our quarterback. I wonder if that means Gettleman would have listened to trade offers moving back. It's very interesting because, like I said, I thought for sure Saquon was going number 1 overall. The Giants weren't going to take they weren't going to take Mayfield, and I thought Mayfield would have got to Cleveland anyway. But I wonder what that would have done.
I thought going into the draft, my honest belief, I thought the Jets were going to take Mayfield. Had he got there.
Well, they traded up to 3 to get him, so maybe that's why Cleveland.
I could be wrong, but that was my belief going into the draft. I thought the Jets wanted to get Mayfield at 3, but had Barkley went 1, my guess is we would have traded down, but we'll never know.
Right.
We'll never know. Maybe they would have just stayed there and take Quentin Nelson, because obviously Gettleman showed you that positional value didn't mean much to him. He took a running back, so maybe he would have been open.
It's just interesting to think what could have been if that played out the way people thought it was going to play out.
Yeah, or Chubb potentially. That was another guy that we were potentially interested in. The Imp says, and I'm talking about the pass rusher guys, not the running.
Yes.
The Imp says Hutchinson, Neal, Thibodeau, Aquanu gone in the first 4. What then? All right, so I think at that point we're going cross.
Sauce.
I think we're going cross at 5.
You think so?
If 2 tackles are
because Sauce would be there at 7, because Carolina's not going to draft him.
Yeah, and you run the risk of Carolina potentially taking Cross at 6 because they need a tackle. If you ask me, but I know some of the people in the chat may not want to hear this, What do I think the Giants would do if 2 tackles were off the board? I think they're taking Charles Cross at 5.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I would be shocked if they didn't, but I think they would take Charles Cross in that scenario. Now, the good news for you, Imp, if you don't want Charles Cross, I don't think 2 tackles are going in the top 4. That may not be the case, though. Who knows? We're going to find out in 2 short days.
Yes, we will.
Let's see. Diego, a report just came out that Caserio is in love with Stingley Jr. Oh, dude, that would be number 3 overall to the Houston Texans. Sign me up. I'd be very happy if there was Stingley one in the top 3, because that would obviously up the probability that Sauce Gardner could potentially get to the Giants at 7. So sign me up if that's the case.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
But then again, it's lying season.
Yeah.
That could be easily be smoke. They love Sauce and say, well, we love Stingley, so we don't got to worry about anyone coming up there and trying to. You never know. I don't believe anything anybody says this time of year.
Yeah. So
makes for fun videos, though, I can tell you that.
Yeah, for sure. Big Bang says, sup, fellas? Good to see you, Big Bang. How you doing, man? Chris, how about the Mets? Oh, dude, I'm going to be streaming some Met games after the draft, so I'm excited to start doing that with you guys as well. I know I got some Met fans on my channel. I've been watching them all. I was pumped up last night. I literally was pacing back and forth after they got the 3-2 lead last night. It was awesome. So super excited about the Mets this season, man. But Big Bang, man, thanks for popping in.
How about, speaking of fun videos, how about our boy Philly 500 who came in here yesterday and said something about the meltdown? Philly 500 is already melting down. I saw him. He did a video that says, if Thibodeau falls, the Eagles will pounce. Man, Thibodeau ain't getting to the Eagles. What is wrong with these guys? Come on.
Well, now you're
drop all the way down to 15. What?
Now you're seeing rumors that the Cowboys are potentially looking to trade up to get Thibodeau.
I saw that while I was watching Law Nation's more.
Yeah.
He's more, he doesn't see aliens. I love Philly, but what is he talking about? But the Cowboys would have to give up everything to get up there to get.
Yeah.
They'd have to get in the top 5 easily, because the Giants could easily take them there. How much you give it up to move from 24 to 4?
No, I think they would entertain it maybe if Thibodeau started to drop outside of like the top 9 or 10, which I don't think is going to happen.
I don't see it happening.
I think it's smoke, and I still think he's going top 4. But we'll find out on draft.
Yeah,
I
love that.
Out of the worry that the Giants may pass on Thibodeau twice, because I am a fan of his. I do think he's a really good player. Part of me almost wants him to go top 4, so I'm not disappointed that they passed him at both 5 and 7, because we'll see. But I would love if Thibodeau was a New York Giant. Yes. Pennsylvania says, I really hope the defense doesn't leave the field at the 2-minute warning at the half. Can't give up 81 points to think about winning. Oh, my God, that was torturous last year.
Horrible.
That's
coaching, man.
And I give Graham credit at times. I think Graham did a really good job in certain games, specifically the Chiefs one with his game plan. And I think he was a decent defensive coordinator last year. I think he was a really good defensive coordinator his first year. But the defense, like he said, to close out halves, it was pitiful. Every game, you knew they were going to give up a touchdown. And like he said, I guess we were outscored 81-0 in the final 2 minutes of the first half last year. And I think that goes back to the conservative nature of Joe Judge and both offensively and defensively. So it was a disaster last year.
Definitely helps when you run 2 quarterback sneaks in a row from inside your 5. That'll get you 81-0 in the first half.
Yeah. Breeze John, he says, Chris, 2 years ago, I asked you who would have a better career, RJ Barrett or Daniel Jones, and you said Daniel. I don't remember that. I'm sure I did. And that was after Daniel probably had a decent first season. And I was probably smoking some ganja at that point, because I have always been a big fan of RJ Barrett. And that's not even a knock on Jones specifically. I think RJ Barrett's going to be a really good player. So I would go RJ Barrett. And some Knicks fans disagree with me on this. I don't care. I'll go to bat for RJ. I think RJ is going to be an all-star at some point. So I'm going to go with RJ Barrett. I think it was a good pick by the Knicks. I still think he's going to be a really good player for the basketball team.
It's going to help when Donovan Mitchell ends up with the Knicks.
Yeah, I hope Daniel Jones takes a big step up this year. But if you ask me who I think is going to have a better career in a New York uniform, I'm going RJ Barrett. I think he's a big piece for the Knicks.
This is probably going to be Daniel Jones' last year in a New York uniform.
Yeah. But, yeah, if I did say that, which I'm sure I did, I was wrong. I'll be the first to say it.
No.
Blake says, what is the worst-case scenario for the draft? Just so I know what to expect come draft day.
That we don't get a tackle.
Yeah, I think that's my worst case scenario because I like we said earlier during the stream, I don't really see a realistic scenario where they go with a quarterback at this point. So I don't think they're going to do that. I think it's at least a small chance we could go wide receiver at 7, even though I don't think they will. But yeah, I agree with Baddog. I think the worst case scenario for me at least is we don't end up with one of those 3 tackles with the 5th or 7th overall pick, which I don't think is going to happen. But just so you're mentally prepared, that's probably my worst case semi-realistic possibility.
That'd be awful.
Yeah, I don't think it'll happen. I think we'll get one, but we'll find out soon.
I agree.
Let's see. Hopefully the one that you guys want, which most people it's probably Evan Neal or Aquano.
Yes.
Octave says apparently the Giants don't like Kayvon. I've heard conflicting reports on that because today I heard that they do like Kayvon, and that came out from Jordan Renan and somebody else. I think it was Dan Duggan as well, where the Giants have had recent Zoom meetings with Kayvon Thibodeau and that they're potentially interested in him. We'll find out soon what the true answer to that is. But I'll continue to read. I think it's smoke. Also, Tony saying don't believe what we are hearing about the trade rumors is interesting. Yeah, listen, and there was another thing that came out about Tony today, which I'm not going to speak too much on because at this point it's become toxic with the fan base. Everybody hates everybody's opinion when it comes to Kadarius Toney. So I'm just glad he's there on the practice field and hopefully he's preparing himself to be ready to go for the season. But something came out on Toney where it wasn't just about the him not showing up to voluntary camp, that it dates back to last year, where his heart's not necessarily in becoming an NFL player. He likes the lifestyle. I don't know. It was a quote that Dan Duggan came out with in his article today on The Athletic, but listen, I just want him to show up. If the guy produces, I'm going to love him. So hopefully he puts his best foot forward. And I'm glad that he's at voluntary camp because he certainly needs to be.
And I did a video on the whole Kayvon Thibodeau thing yesterday. Peter King said, he said there's a lot of rumors out there they're not interested, and Peter King said they're absolutely interested. There's a lot of guys in that Giants front office that I think very highly of Kayvon Thibodeau, and that's what I said. It's all smoke. You don't know what's real and what's not at this point. Everything's an illusion at this point. And we'll know when we have the New York Giants are on the clock. And with the 5th pick in the 2022 draft, the New York Giants select insert name there.
Can't wait. New York Giants 26 says skipping junior prom for the draft. They didn't lie when they said high school is about making memories. I will remember when Neal and Tibbs become Giants. I mean, if you got a hot date, New York Giants 26, maybe go to the prom. Maybe go to the prom. Put the phone. You can listen to me and Baddog. Put the earbuds in while we're on the clock at 5 and 7. Go out and have yourself a good junior prom. I'm not telling you to miss the junior prom. Have some memories there. Have some memories of our reaction. Right. Get the best of both worlds.
Or you can just make her watch us for 5 hours, and if she sits through that, you got to keep her.
Yeah. Oh, if a girl is willing to sit through my voice, who many people complain about my screaming and yada, yada, yada. I've caused several breakups and divorces. If she's willing to sit through 5 hours of that, you keep her. You marry her that night. So,
yes.
NY Giants 26, man. I hope you have a good time.
Exactly. If somebody's willing to look at this nose for 5 hours, you got to keep, like my wife. That's all they're good.
Blake says, how big is the drop-off of talent from the top 3 tackles to the next couple in case somehow we miss? I think it's pretty significant.
Yes.
From everything I've read, I think it's pretty significant. Trevor Penning is by most people's standards. People argue on this. You got the Ohio State. People argue on who's the next best, but let's say that most people feel Trevor Penning is the 4th best tackle. I think it's pretty significant. I don't think Trevor Penning is in the class of the top 3.
Right.
Like, I would not feel super comfortable with Penning. Not nearly as comfortable as I would with the top 3 prospects.
Yeah. Well, one of those guys is they have to get to us. So the Giants can't miss. I do think that's where they're going with the 5th pick. Well, of course, it depends on what the hell it depends on what's there.
Yeah. I mean, if the same thing happens,
2 picks, we're coming out with one of them elite tackles.
If the same thing happens that happened to us yesterday on your channel when we were doing the mock, we may wait till 7. Like, if none of the tackles go in the top 3, then you say to yourself, okay, we're still going to get, one of these, two of these top 3 guys are going to be available when we pick. Maybe go defense first.
Yes.
John, man, thank you very much, man. Great week so far. Brooklyn got swept. New York Rangers going to have home ice in the playoffs. Draft is in 2 days. Let's go. You think Dean falls to 36? First, I'll speak about Brooklyn. Yeah, I was Kevin Durant, I mean, doesn't look good on his legacy. Going out there and getting swept this year with the Brooklyn Nets.
Missing a big free throw at the end of the game.
Missing a big. By the way, and I retweeted this on Twitter last night because I saw several people saying, oh, well, the LeBron James and Kevin Durant debate's over. When was that a debate?
Dude, I'm doing the game last night, and all I'm seeing in their chat is LeBron this, LeBron that. I'm like, why are we talking about LeBron? LeBron's in Cancun. I don't understand the debate between KD and LeBron. It doesn't. I'm like, why are we talking about LeBron James?
If we're talking career, it's not even close.
It's
LeBron.
Not. LeBron's a better overall player. KD may be a better overall. KD's a better shooter. But this is the thing. Both of those guys chased titles. A lot of people don't like either one of them. They want to hate them. I completely get that. But what I said in that stream last night is, listen, you don't need to like LeBron James, the person. You can hate him. That's fine. And you can feel the same way about Kevin Durant. And that's fine too. I understand. You can't deny those guys in the court, man. They're two of the greatest players ever.
Oh, they're both great. They're both great.
But yeah, KD did not look good. I mean, what looks worse, KD getting swept by a good Celtics team or LeBron losing 48 games to the Lakers that were projected to be in the NBA Finals?
LeBron this year didn't help anything.
Oh, even though LeBron almost was 2 games away from qualifying to winning the scoring title this year.
Yeah, I still go with LeBron over Durant, though.
I would too.
But as far as his question about Dean, yeah, it's at least possible. I mean, depending on how these teams evaluate the linebacker position.
36, dude, you sign me up.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm expecting it, but it's possible. He's probably one of like 10 or 11 names that I think it's at least a small possibility could fall to 36.
Trade back in the first round, getting a Kobe to go with Aziz Ojulari. We're just gonna name ourselves the New York Bulldogs. Why the hell not? I mean, we take a Bulldog every year. I mean, it's why not?
Yeah. Blake says, thank you, Blake. He says, for Tony, I think most Giants fans are on the same page. If we trade him for fair value, fine. But right now, no way we get that. So keep him for now. Yeah, I think that ideally that I'm on the same page as well. I mean, my mindset is if Shane doesn't want this guy to be on the team, he never drafted the guy, and he wants to get something while he can, I'm going to support it. He inherited this guy. It wasn't his guy from the beginning. But I agree with you. In an ideal world, I would much rather him remain on the team and hopefully progress as a player and become a long-term answer for the Giants, or potentially a guy like you said you could get better value for in the future if you don't feel like he's in the long-term interest of the football team. So I agree with you, but at the same time, I wouldn't flip out if Joe Shane decided to trade him because he's not a Joe Shane guy. Right. I'm not going to flip out if he trades anybody from the prior regime, to be completely honest with you, outside of Andrew Thomas. Andrew Thomas, I would flip out.
Yeah. Well, as I said, if Joe, I'm on board with whatever Shane decides to do. If Shane or Daboll says we're going to ride with this kid, I'm fine with Tony being on the team. If they say we don't want him, we don't think he's New York Giant material, or we don't like the way his work ethic is, or we don't like his attitude, and we want to get rid of that, I'm fine with that too. What I will say his trade value is probably at his absolute lowest.
Yeah, third round, I think. I think a third round pick right now is probably
if he's, again, we've talked about this before. If the Giants start off 1-5 and Barkley's having a good year, maybe you move Barkley. If Kadarius Toney's having a really good year and they're 1-5, maybe at that point you decide now we can move him and get maybe a second round pick into next year's draft. So again, guys like Barkley and Toney, if you wanted to look at trading them, now you're going to get the lowest possible value. So we'll see what they do. But I think Tony is a Giant to start the season.
Oh yeah, I think he'll be a Giant throughout the season. But hope I just hope he's he's at camp and he's working his ass off. That's all I ask for as a fan. Tiana says, if Tibbs and Gardner are there, who do you think we take? P.S. Great Mets game last night. Yeah, that was awesome. And I'll definitely do a Mets game soon. I know you come into the stream, so thank you very much. As far as Tibbs and Gardner, I know most Giant fans are going to side with Tibbs because they want the edge rusher, rightfully so. We're a team that's historically been built around the edge, and that is a very important position. But if you're asking me what I think is going to be prioritized for this team, if they feel they're fairly comparable in terms of being an overall prospect, which it's very likely that they will, I think they're going to side with the corner. I do. I think they're going to build through coverage. I think that's what Wink wants to do. So I wouldn't be surprised either way. I personally think Thibodeau is one of the 2 or 3 most talented prospects in this draft. But if they took Sauce Gardner, I would not be surprised at all. I'd probably slightly favor that they'd be leaning towards Sauce Gardner, to be completely honest with you. If they were both there at 7, I don't think they both will be. I think there's a chance one of them will be. I don't think both will be.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I'd be
happy either way. I'd be happy either way.
I would too.
RK says, would you consider a running back in the 3rd? I mean, I think we're going to.
Yeah, James Cook. It seems to be a popular name with the Giants.
Yeah, I'm not personally.
And there's another Bulldog.
Yeah. I'm personally not in love with the idea of taking a running back in the third, but do I think the Giants are going to strongly consider it? Yeah, they brought in 5 running backs for top 30 visits, and they, you only have 30 players you can bring in, like 5 of them, like 15, 20%, whatever it is. They brought in that were running backs.
You know what that tells me? They're not going forward with Barkley next year.
Probably not. No,
that's what that tells me.
But yeah, I would not be surprised if they take a 3rd round running back. Do I think it's ideal? Like, am I excited that they're doing that? Not necessarily. I'd probably rather, before I invest a relatively high pick on a running back, I'd probably want to get this offensive line situated. Yeah. Unlike what we did with Barkley, where we tried to do 2 things at once with Nate Solder and Will Hernandez, and it didn't work out. I'd probably rather, before I invest a premium pick on a running back, get that offensive line going in the right direction. But listen, I'm not going to scream if they take a 3rd round running back. If he turns into be Alvin Kamara, it'll be a brilliant pick. So right. I definitely think it's a possibility, though.
And Cook's very versatile. I mean, he does a lot of different things. So
he's a pass catcher. Yeah.
Yep.
So we'll see. RK says, can't keep holding breath on Saquon and Breeder is poop.
Done.
Yeah, I don't think Saquon's going to be in the long-term plans of this team. So whether it be this year or next year, I do think we'll be taking a running back relatively early. John, man, thank you so much, man, for the 99-cent donation, man. I appreciate it. And let's see. Bear, what's going on, man? I know we all need help in all positions of this draft. What one position do you think we could hold off until next year?
Quarterback.
Yeah, quarterback is for sure. Now, if we're talking about the positions of the most significant importance, because I could easily say running back, but to me, that doesn't really qualify because that would be what everybody would answer because I think we could clearly get by with not taking a running back this year.
Wide receiver.
Wide receiver is another one that you could probably, we only have 9 picks. So I'm not against taking a receiver if they really like one because it is a need. I'd probably lean receiver. But I think you could also argue potentially tight end. People may not want to hear that because we don't have a legitimate number 1 tight end right now. But did the Bills really prioritize utilizing the tight end? Could they find some value? They brought in a couple of guys. They brought in the guy from the Texans. Could they get by for 1 year with the tight end group they have? I mean, I don't love the idea of it, but if you're asking me, of the 4 or 5 most likely positions that they need to draft, is that a position they could pass up on? Maybe safety as well. You could get by for 1 year. It's a multi-year process. You're not going to fill all these needs in one draft. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
I think they'll address tight end. I think they will take tight end. But if I had to pick, one of the 3 or 4 most likely positions they'll take, maybe that's one they could wait a year on. I don't know, but we'll see. Wide receiver is probably the best answer, though, like Baddog said. You wait a year and you get a premium receiver next year unless you're in love with one.
Right. Man, not to mention, I don't know what the free agent class is next year for wide receivers. And I don't know if you go out there and spend money on that, but we're going to have a lot of money in 2023. Finally. Yeah. So we'll see. And that's really when we're going to see what these guys, where they're going. You get a good draft under your, get that good core, get that good foundation this year with these. Like Chris said, we have 9 draft picks, but 5 of them are in the top 81. We got to hit on these. And then next year, you're going to have another draft, and you're going to have a lot more cap flexibility to go out there and get the players that, Dable and Shane want on this team. And we'll go forward from there. But that's why I think wide receiver is something that we can kind of pass on for this season because, again, we don't know what's going on with Daniel Jones. Anything can happen this year, but I don't perceive Daniel Jones as a future quarterback here. So, you might as well bring in receivers and quarterback at the same time. To me, let them get on the same page.
Yeah, as I've said all along, I don't think I'm going to be upset if I think Giants fans should realize by the end of this draft, you're going to be upset about something.
Yeah, right.
They're not going to be able to fill every need in this draft. There's just way too many. Yeah. And I think the Giants are going to take the best available player on their board. So I wouldn't be surprised if we take a wide receiver. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't. We'll see in a couple of short days.
We won't be as upset as we were last year when we didn't take one offensive lineman. That I can probably guarantee.
We're taking it.
That I can guarantee. We will address that line this year.
And
maybe more than once, but yeah.
For sure.
Hopefully
and
more than once.
Breeze John, man, thank you so much, man. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anybody. I'm going to get to Jockey because sometimes I miss these member chats. Jakai, maybe. I don't want to mispronounce it. He says, as much as I wouldn't want to, but I've been thinking that Willis would be great under Dable. And imagine an offense built around Willis. Listen, there's a decent amount of Giants fans that agree with you. And yeah, do I see the attraction to a guy like Malik Willis? Sure. He has physical traits. He's a guy that you look at and you say, listen, look what he did with Josh Allen. I think I could certainly argue that I think Josh Allen's physical traits were higher than that of Malik Willis.
Oh God, yes.
But there's no doubt about it. Malik Willis has a relatively high ceiling. I think he's a risky quarterback prospect to take inside the top 5 or 7 picks, especially for a team as underdeveloped as the New York Giants are. But if they felt as highly or close to as highly as they did about Josh Allen, they'll take him, in my opinion. But I don't think they're going to feel that way. I really don't. I don't think we're going to take a quarterback. Malik Willis to me is a project, but if he gets put in the right environment, yeah, I think he could be a pretty successful quarterback in the NFL. The question is going to come down to, in terms of the Giants or any team in this draft that's picking relatively high, is his ceiling worth the risk, the gamble of how much that this kid needs to develop as a quarterback. But if they feel he has I'm not going to say Pat Mahomes, but an upper echelon ceiling, they'll take a shot. I mean, you see it every year with teams taking quarterbacks.
Right. And look at the situation Pat Mahomes went into. He went into a perfect situation. So again, with Malik Willis, it's not so much that I don't think that he can be a good quarterback. I do think he has the highest ceiling of any quarterback in this draft. But again, he's got to develop. And if you put a guy like Malik Willis in the New York Giants system, there's a good possibility that he gets stunted here. And again, I mean, these guys that are, there's two different guys. There's people that want Daniel Jones out of here, and there's people that say Daniel Jones never had anything around him. Well, if you're bringing Malik Willis and you're bringing Malik Willis into the same situation that Daniel Jones is in, it's probably not going to work out best for Malik Willis, where if he goes to a team like Pittsburgh that's already established, he has a much better chance of succeeding and developing quicker than he would with us. So that's the other thing. And like Chris said, if you're Joe Shane and you take the quarterback, you're on the clock. You're also committed to this guy for the next 4 years. So it just makes more sense, in my opinion, to try to build this team the best you can for whoever the quarterback is going forward, whether that's Daniel Jones, whether that's Bryce Young, whether that's somebody else. It's just a bad year to take a quarterback.
That's always been my opinion.
It's like Trevor Lawrence, where it's a guy's like, this guy can't, and they can miss. Even when they say they can't, they can. But when you have a guy, you're like, this talent, you cannot let him go. I don't think there's any quarterback in this draft class where a team's like, we can't let this guy get away. We can't let this guy get away. And I think Washington and Pencilman said this weeks back, and it was a great point. The fact that Denver and Washington with higher draft picks decided to go out and trade to get quarterback, it kind of tells you what you need to know about what
there's been a lot of teams that have done that, gotten a stopgap quarterback, and we'll see. I mean, we'll see, but I'd be very surprised if we take Malik Willis. But that's always been my line of thought. Once Joe Shane came in, I always said, all right, what would I do, or how would I think if I inherited this job? And would I rather draft the quarterback this year where there's the debate, by the way, of who the best quarterback is in this draft to begin with, because it is such a weak quarterback draft class. You listen to Sims, it's Corral. You listen to a lot of fans, it's Malik Willis, because the guy, made some impressive throws during his pro day and he's got athletic upside. Yes. You listen to other fans, they'll tell you Kenny Pickett because he's the most pro ready. So there's kind of a debate in terms of who even the best quarterback prospect is in this draft. My line of thought always was, and will be going into this draft, if I'm the GM, let me start to build this roster. That way I could maximize the potential day one from the quarterback that I bring in here.
Right.
Let me start to develop this roster. Let the offensive line start to get some consistency working together with one another. Let the receivers start to learn this playbook, and then they hit the ground running year two if I have to go out and draft my quarterback, and that guy comes into a much better situation. That's always been my thought, not to mention that most people feel next year's quarterback draft class is richer. So that's always been my thought, and why I don't think it's the ideal year to take a quarterback.
Yeah, no, I agree. The Giants just aren't set up for that this year, in my opinion.
Mini Guy, thank you so much, man. Stand up. Just got my first Giants jersey, an old Reebok Brandon Jacobs. That's awesome, man. One of my favorite Giants of all time.
Beast.
I was actually on Talkin Giants. We did a podcast, I don't know, about 2 weeks ago with Justin, and we went over the greatest Giants draft classes of all time. His draft class is among the best, and the Giants only had 4 picks in that draft. They ended up with Corey Webster in the second round. They ended up with Justin Tuck in the third, and they ended up with Brandon Jacobs in the fourth.
Yep.
Talk about a job that Ernie, of course, he did 4 picks. You hit on 3 huge players with 75% of those picks. That was an insane draft.
Yep.
And I love Brandon Jacobs. Like I said, one of my favorite Giants. Davey says Ekwonu and Tibbs is the perfect first round. Leo Chanel at 36, BPA after that. Neal, Ekwonu, or even Cross for me. One of those top 3 tackles, and Tibbs or Sauce. I think most Giant fans would be okay with that.
I'd be fine with it. I'd be very happy with that.
Yeah. But probably most Giant fans are going to favor the pass rusher. And I understand it for sure. I'd probably slightly favor the pass rusher as well. I'm just coming to the realization that I think if they have the choice, it's probably going to be a cornerback.
Yeah.
Which I'm okay with. Let me just make sure I don't miss another one of these members, and then we'll get to the rest of these. Jeff, man, thank you so much for being a member for 7 months. He says, what's up, fellas? 2 days until the draft. Mets playing fantastic. And the Nets, the less said, the better. Neal or Sauce Tibbs, let's go Giants. Yeah, that's basically what I just said. That's what I think we're looking at. Unless something unforeseen goes in the top 4 picks or we trade out of one of our 2 picks. That's where my head's at. Those 4 players, and you could throw Cross in there as well as a possibility, but that's where my head's at going into the draft, Jeff, for sure.
Yes.
Blake, this is a tough question. Rank these tight ends: Kolar, Woods, Dulcich. All right, here's what I'll say, and I haven't done a ton of research on these guys. Dulcich, by most people's standards, is ranked the highest of the 3 when you go in these mock drafts. He's not the type of tight end that I personally want. From what I've read and from what I've seen, he seems to be more of a pass catcher than a well-rounded tight end. So I would probably lean towards one of the other 2 for the Giants specifically. Most people would have Dulcich probably highest on their board, but he's not the type of tight end that I would prefer the New York Giants draft in this year's draft.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'll be honest. I have not done research on those 3 tight ends because that's the last of my concern at the moment. Well, not the last, but definitely more concerned with the top, with the top 5 picks. Now, I don't think we're going to take a tight end with our top 5 picks, but maybe later in the draft. There's talking about record odd and those type of guys. But for me, it's really just please fix the line of scrimmage with those, and a running back is definitely possible, but well, you never know, and you never know what the Giants are going to do.
Like I said, I think 81 is probably the earliest we'll take a tight end, unless they're in love with one at 67.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. I'd probably prefer early day 3 for the tight end. I think there's a lot of guys they could potentially take in that 4 or 5 area. Allison, thank you very much. Hey, Chris, can you mock and only pick as New York Giants? Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do a mock in about 10 minutes. We'll start that. We're going to do the first round, but I mean, I have no problem. We could probably do both quick. So maybe we'll do a first round where we do all the teams in like 5 or 10 minutes, and then we'll do a quick run through of just Giants specific. We'll do that. And by the way, I know somebody asked me to do a mock draft on Twitter on one of the other sites because we did PFF yesterday. I've tried logging into the other site. It's not working for some reason. I'll try it again before we do it. If not, I'm just going to do the PFF simulator again, which should not hinder our first round selection because we're going to be making every pick anyway.
Right.
Asia, thank you so much for the incredible generosity. Thank you so much. So stand up, my Sextina. I don't know if you saw my message on Twitter, but I lost my I did, and I think I told you I was sorry about that, but I'm sorry about that. Who I haven't seen since he was a little kid. That's horrible. The gun violence, and I spent the majority of work crying in the bathroom. I don't know if I could get over this. I'm sorry to hear that, Asia. I don't even know what else to say. That's horrible. So
yeah, she told me that the other night, and it's just it's travesty.
Yeah, I hope you feel. Well, I'm sorry. I don't even know what else to say.
It's tough. I mean, it's tough. There's no doubt about it. But like I told her, I know when initially, because I didn't lose my dad to gun violence, but my father one night was there, next morning was gone. No signs of anything. Just heart attack gone. And so it's really tough. And I know that at the beginning, it's like I'm not going to get over this. It hurts. And the old expression is time heals all wounds. And although you never forget, and it's definitely going to be tough for a while, it will get better as time passes. Time heals all wounds. So just hang in there, Asia. We always support you. You're one of our best, and everybody in the chat loves you. So, you got our support.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's horrible. I didn't know it was gun violence. I know you told me you lost your cousin on Twitter, I think, but it's horrible. MY Giants 26 says Giants traded 7 Shep and Bradbury to the Lions for 2 on Good Morning Football. That's not happening. That's not happening. No. Why? Some of these trades on Good Morning Football. There was another trade on Good Morning Football where I think the Giants got like a first-round pick for Saquon Barkley or something. It was trending around Twitter.
Have you ever actually watched that show?
I will.
YouTube Graders should be on NFL Network. That's
all I know is that show. They project the Giants to make the playoffs every year, and in my head, I'm like, it's because they want the New York audience. But
it's a poor product.
Why in the world?
Yeah, this is pretty nice stuff, but it's a poor product.
Why would the Lions trade back 5 spots to take on Bradbury's bad contract, a team that's rebuilding, Shep, who's not even going to probably start the season, who again has a pretty bad contract?
And his contract's up at the end of the year.
Why in the world? If they did that, that's a ridiculous proposed trade. So,
if the Lions did that, they should be kicked out of the league. Okay.
I'm not surprised based off of some prior trades I've seen with their mocks or whatever.
Kyle Brandt's too worried about his hair.
Yeah.
Peter Schlegel, I don't even know what you say about that goober. Whatever. It's a poor product. Good Morning Football is a poor product.
Yeah. My old Sith, thank you so much, man. I would execute order 66 on the new GM if we pick Willis in the first 2 picks. You mean at 5 or 7, obviously, but I don't think you have to worry about that. I know some people in the chat want Willis, and maybe you'll be right on draft night. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think we got to worry about it. Baddog, let's jump into the mock. It's probably going to take us a little bit of time. I'm doing a first round only mock draft. We'll do that. We said we were going to do that yesterday, and then for Allison, I'll try to do a quick 6 round only mock draft for the Giants like we did yesterday. But let's jump into it. Let me share the screen real quick, and we will do a first round only. Again, it's not going to be perfect. There's going to be whatever. We're doing it for fun. We'll listen to the chat as well.
Right.
And let's see here. Let's do the draft simulator. Share. We'll do every team, only the first round.
Yeah. I see somebody said Sean O'Hara. Yeah, I'm not talking about like Sean O'Hara. I'm talking like their main crew on Good Morning Football, not guys like Sean O'Hara. He does a good job. Of course, he's a giant. He did a good job for us too.
Now, before we start this, Baddog, do you think there's going to be any trades, like relatively early? Because if we think that, let's just do it.
I honestly can't. I can't see it happening. I can't see somebody trading up into the top 4. I mean, what are you trading up there for?
Yeah. So maybe later in the draft we'll do one, but as of now, we're gonna stick with the board for the first 10 picks or so.
Yeah.
All right, let's start the draft. First pick. What do we think? What do we think with that first pick? Because we've heard several rumors what they're gonna do. Is it gonna be Aiden Hutchinson? Is it gonna be Aquanu? Is it gonna be Trayvon Walker? What are you buying into?
I think it's going to be Hutchinson. Pretty much every mock, again, they're mock drafts, so it's a simulator. You don't know, but pretty much everyone, or not everyone, but most of them, and all we've heard pretty much all offseason is Hutchinson. So I would lean in that direction because, as you said, Chris, I feel like they knew once they had the first pick, they've had months to go over this. I don't know if Trayvon Walker's combine really said, "Well, we got to change our mind now." So I would lean Hutchinson.
I see, and I'm gonna ask the chat what they lean because I actually disagree with you on this. But I'm gonna let the chat decide. I obviously could see Hutchinson. I've had Hutchinson in my first 2 mock drafts. I'm starting to believe some of the smoke, but we're gonna let the chat decide on this. They'll be the tiebreaker with some of these picks. Ordinary Pete says, just want to see Baddog flex his 21-inch pythons for the game. Go.
Not quite 21, maybe about 16 or 15 and a half. You know, we're thinned out. We leaned out a little bit.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's Hutchinson. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Aquanu.
It's like 50-50 in the chat too. I see.
But I'm gonna tell you what, I'm starting to buy a little bit into the Trayvon Walker hype. I'm starting to buy into it a little bit. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars are crazy enough, and I think they feel he fits the scheme with the upside.
I hope they do. Please.
I think they're crazy enough to actually do it. But I'm gonna let the chat decide. Let's see. We got Walker, Aquanu.
Even.
It's even?
It's pretty even in the chat.
You know what? I'm going to let Authentic make the pick then. He's going to be the tiebreaker. He sides with Baddog.
All right.
He goes with Hutchinson. So that's what we're going to do. Aiden Hutchinson goes to the Jaguars at number 1 overall. Let me just make sure I didn't miss one here. And so see, yeah, it's kind of back and forth here. Josh says Texans need I know it says that on every mock draft that the Texans need every position, which we're going to get to them in a second. Let's do the next pick, and then I'll get back to the chat. All right, Lions are on the board now. Aiden Hutchinson's off the clock. Lions, they went with Penei Sewell last year, so I don't think they're going to be taking a lineman. I think we probably are in agreement that they're leaning edge here.
Mm-hmm.
Or they could go DB, but I think they're going edge. Who do you like here? Is it Thibodeau or is it Walker?
I mean, I think if Walker, I think that this is the way this is going to go. Honestly, I think that the Jags could definitely take Walker, and then the Lions would take Hutchinson. And I think if Jacksonville took Hutchinson, the Lions would take Trayvon Walker. So I would say that they'll probably go Walker there if Walker falls to them. But I just think it would be Walker and then Hutchinson. Hutchinson played for Michigan. It's a nice story. But I would say Trayvon Walker goes here, number 2.
I'll go with you on that. Even though I could easily see Thibodeau, but I'll go with you. I'll get on board with that. Trayvon Walker to the Lions. Let me just grab a couple more of these before I lose them, and then we'll get to pick number 3 quickly. I'll just read them actually. That way I could keep up with the mock draft. Texas need every position. We already read that. Kyle, man, thank you very much. Chris, you still do. I'm doing something else on the side as well, but yeah, this is still. Yes, I plan on giving you guys a lot more content after the draft and as the season fast approaches. I just didn't want to give you guys, nonsense content because that's what I felt like I would have been providing you with during the dead time because there wasn't much to talk about. The Giants didn't
talk about getting a receiver every day.
Yeah, I mean the Giants didn't have any money to spend in free agency.
We had nothing to
do. I give you a mock draft every day, but for me it kind of gets redundant. Like I just want the draft to be here. I think it's kind of a pretty cut and dry draft, and we'll analyze what the Giants do after the fact. Lou, he says, I will be in the chat with yous twos throughout the draft. I know you will be focusing on the Giants, but as the Rams picks are coming up, may I submit you my top 3 picks? Of course, Lou. You did that last year too, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if you gave us your top 3, but you gave us who you think the Rams are going to take with their picks. But yeah, man, of course, man, you're always welcome to chime in and give your opinion on what the Giants do or what you think your team should do. And Michael, man, thank you very much, man. What's up with the corners we drafted last year? I think we don't need corners safe. Yes. Well, I mean, we took a corner last year, but he's a slot guy, Aaron Robinson. But
right.
I know the Giants have been trying him out on the outside, and I guess we'll see what the coaching staff feels about him. We're going to lose Bradbury. I still think that. So I definitely see the need for an exterior corner unless they feel Aaron Robinson could be that guy. But you need really strong corner play in this type of defensive scheme. So if they really like a guy, I think they're going to take him.
See a lot of guys here saying Icky for pick 3.
That's my pick as well.
Yep.
So I'm just going to read Deception, then we're going to get to that. Deception says, subscribe to John Mara's OnlyFans. I've been disappointed since it mostly consists of pics of medium Pepsis with a lot of... Thank you, Deception, man. I appreciate it. They got to get Coke this year. I said that after the fact. They got to get rid of Pepsi, Baddog. But let's get to the 3rd pick. I'm not even going to waste my time. I agree. I think it's Ike Ekwonu. I know that a lot of people feel like they could triple up on the edge here, but I think it's the right pick for them. I think he's the lineman with the most upside. He's also got versatility. He can play all over the line. I agree. I think Ike Ekwonu is going to be attacked when push comes to shove. Jets on the clock at 4th overall. Jets obvious needs.
Thibodeau for me. I think they
agree with you. There. I think the other guy that you could put in the conversation, could they reach on a wide receiver, being that they've shown a lot of interest? But I agree with you.
They also could get a wide receiver at 10. So
that's my line of reasoning as well. They could take Neal. I could see that as well, but they've taken 2 linemen early in the last 2 drafts. So I agree with you. I think Thibodeau is going to be off the board in the top 4, which is going to upset a lot of Giants fans. Yeah. So now we're on the clock at 5, and I think it's obvious here. It's either Neal or Cross. I mean, we've heard reports that some people have talked about Neal's medical reports, and the Giants may favor Cross. But if all that is clears, I think Neal's the obvious for me. Is the top tackle in this draft class. He's the safest of the 3. So I'm going to go Neal. I think you agree with me.
I agree. Yes, I think we go Neal there.
Now, this is where it gets interesting. Do you think Carolina goes quarterback or do they go tackle?
I mean, wow, this is hard, and this is where somebody could trade up. This is where somebody could make a move. This is where somebody. I'm trying to think of like who needs a quarterback. Atlanta wouldn't have to move up from here because they know the Giants aren't taking a quarterback. So, but if we're not doing trades, God, this is hard.
I'm gonna give you my input, and then I'll have you give. I think they're going tackle, and I know that may be shocking to some people. I think Carolina is going to get a veteran quarterback, whether it be Baker Mayfield, whether it be Jimmy Garoppolo, or they're going to stick with Darnold for another year. And my reasoning behind it, and I could be completely wrong. I could easily see them taking a quarterback, whether it be Kenny Pickett or Malik Willis. Matt Rule is on the hot seat. Mm-hmm. Matt Rule knows that, and maybe Matt Rule may not have any influence on the selection. I would think he would. He apparently had a lot of say in terms of the trade for Sam Darnold. There was interest. He had a lot of interest in Sam Darnold when he initially was going to potentially take the Jets job. So I think there's interest there. I think he does have some pull in that organization, what they do with the draft pick. And I can't wrap my head around the idea of him taking a project quarterback in a year in which he knows he needs to start to deliver results.
Right.
Now, some people may argue if he takes Malik Willis, he may get a longer leash. If the team only wins 4 or 5 games, which I don't necessarily agree with. You heard a lot of clamoring last year that Carolina was looking to potentially move on off of him after 2 years. Do you think the fan base and ownership is going to be completely fine with having another 4, 5, 6 win season with a rookie quarterback? I would actually lean, if they're going quarterback, with that they would go with the more pro-ready quarterback and pick it, which many would disagree with. I prefer Willis personally, but for them, I could see them going Pickett if they go quarterback. But I think they're going to go tackle.
Well, they also pick at the front end of the second round, right? They have a second round pick. So it's possible that maybe if they want to go quarterback there, they go Desmond Ridder there. They go Carson Strong there. Those are 2 guys that could get to them in the second round. So I would agree. I think that they would go Charles Cross here with a tackle, and again, try to set up the future quarterback for success as opposed to taking Malik Willis and putting him in a precarious situation. So unless somebody blows, and again, the possibility of them trading back could be big here, but since we're not trading, I would say Charles Cross is their pick there.
Yeah, and again, easily could see a quarterback. For everybody saying, I'm sure several people are saying Willis or Pickett. I could easily see a quarterback. But I in the end, I'm going to pick tackle. Gary, man, thank you very much. Hey guys, not a lot of people are talking about the fact that the top 3. Let me just pull it up here so it's easier to read. Not a lot of people are talking about the fact that the top 3 offensive tackles could possibly go in the first 4 picks, which I'm praying does not happen. Anything's possible? I don't think that will happen, Gary. But if it does, I mean, at that point, if you're the Giants, you have to start listening to trade down offers. And if you don't trade down, I think you have to probably double up on the defense.
Yeah.
If this happens, we may have to go edge of court. Yeah, I think if that were to happen, Gary, which I don't expect it to, if we don't trade down, we would double up on the defense.
Yep.
And let's see. Blake, he says, I prefer Neal, but all the analysts point to Cross. All the analytics, rather, point to Cross. I am not against Cross as much against Cross as a lot of Giants fans. I prefer Neal, but I think Cross does fit what we're trying to do on offense very well. He's a very good pass protector. Okay, so Charles Cross off the board. We're on the clock again.
Sauce.
It's obvious, right? I think it's sauce.
I think it's obvious at this point.
He got to us, and maybe he won't on draft night. But if he does, I think we're taking him at 7.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, Ahmad Sauce Gardner off the board. Now you get to the Atlanta Falcons, and they're another team that go a lot of ways. I've seen them mock wide receiver. I could see them going Jermaine Johnson. There's been a lot of rumors that teams are interested in Jermaine Johnson. He's creeping up draft boards. That's probably where I'm leaning personally.
Yeah.
They could go line as well. Could go corner. They could go with a guy like Stingley or a quarterback. They could go Malik Willis in this.
They could go Malik Willis. I don't think they would, though. I just.
Yeah, I think I'm leaning Jermaine Johnson, actually.
Yeah, I could see Jermaine Johnson going.
Let's see what the chat thinks. Garrett Wilson or Jermaine Johnson.
Rutgers Johnson, I see.
The Falcons ain't going quarterback. Garrett Wilson. You guys like Garrett Wilson, Pickett, Johnson? Yeah, I think that's the debate. Will it be a wide receiver there or an edge or a quarterback? I think those are the 3 possibilities. Nick says, "Can we select Matt Araiza for the Eagles when we do
Thursday? We do the Eagles when we do the Eagles, and they're not getting Araiza. He's too good."
Yeah, exactly. We're not giving him the best punter.
It's the best punter.
All right. You know what? Some people seem to. Well, all right, Baddog, I'm going to let you make the pick. What do you think?
Kyle Hamilton. I see a lot of Wilson or Johnson. These are the guys: Johnson, Willis, Wilson, Johnson, Willis, Wilson, JJ, Johnson. I think Johnson.
Jermaine. He's been getting a lot of traction. Everything I'm reading, people have him going in the top 10. Let's go Johnson, even though it could be any of the players we said, including Malik Willis. Seattle now on the clock. Again, could go quarterback. Is this the first team to take a quarterback? Or do they have the long-term approach? The 3 tackles are already off the board, so I don't see them reaching there for the 4th best tackle this early. This is a prime spot. If this exact scenario were to play out, I could see Seattle trading back if there was a potential trade partner for a team that may want a quarterback if they, in fact, didn't want to take a guy like Malik Willis. But I'm going to say if the 3 tackles are off the board, I think they lean quarterback here if they're not trading down.
Yeah, I could see them going quarterback here. I could see Malik Willis going to Seattle at this point, since all the tackles are off the board at this point. All the major tackles are there. They're not going to reach for. I mean, this could be a reach too, to be honest. But I think
And
Malik
I'll
Willis,
tell you what, man, and I hope he has a great career. I never root against anybody. If Malik Willis ends up in Seattle, I don't know how good of a fit that is.
right?
I mean, their offensive line is a
That's
mess.
what I mean. It's kind of like ours. So
Yeah.
I don't know if they would do that, but the tackle's not there. I mean, most of the good edge rushers are gone. They need a corner. I mean, maybe they would go Stingley here. No,
Stingley's a good suggestion. I could see that as well.
you know,
let me just read this. DeGrom says, as a New York Jets rep, I will like Garrett Wilson. I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to give you guys a wide receiver.
yeah.
I don't see Willis to Seattle. Stingley. You know what?
I'm gonna go Stingley.
I actually like the Stingley suggestion.
Yeah.
I could definitely see that.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with you on that. I'm going to go with Derek Stingley here to Seattle. It's a good one. Let's go with that. Because my brain is telling me Seattle is in it just as bad, if not worse shape than we are in terms of the offense. So I don't know if that's an ideal pick for them to take a quarterback this year. Jets now on the clock. We'll go with the wide receiver here.
Yeah, we'll give him Garrett Wilson.
We'll give him Garrett Wilson, which I think makes a ton of sense.
Yep.
Washington is interesting. Let's get some suggestions from the chat on Washington.
Yes.
Don't give us punters, guys. I know you hate the team. Blake says a quarterback will get overdrafted. Maybe, maybe not. I won't be surprised if Willis goes 2. I won't be surprised if Willis goes 25. It's one of those drafts where I'm going anywhere. Linebacker for Washington.
Nakobe Dean. I might be a little early for Dean.
What about Hamilton?
I don't know how they are.
They lost Collins, right?
Yeah, that's not a big loss.
No, but they Hamilton.
No, I know. It doesn't say that's one of their needs, but he is the best available player at this point. So that is possible. I'd be surprised if Hamilton fell far. I mean, I'm looking at like the team's needs, and none of them have a need for a safety. I can't see Hamilton falling out of the top 15 though, but you never know. They're not going to take a quarterback. They just got Wentz.
I think Hamilton makes a lot of sense here. I think it's a spot where you could.
Devin Lloyd is another one. Perhaps they
Lloyd, yeah. If they're going linebacker, I think Lloyd makes a ton of sense. But Hamilton's probably the best player on the board at this point.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I'm going to go Hamilton. I'm going to go Hamilton to Washington. Everything I've read about Minnesota is they desperately need cornerback.
And they don't have them now because they're
Well, you got I think it's McDuffie, right? Is the third rank? Let me.
Which is the reason Minnesota could actually trade up in this draft if they really wanted a corner.
Yeah, McDuffie's there. He's the highest rated corner out of Washington. I could certainly see that. I could certainly see them trading back. Now this, you know what? What do you think of this suggestion, Baddog, at 12 here? Like you said, this is a spot where the top 2 corners are off the board for Minnesota, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pittsburgh, we both agree, potentially could. Did we draft Malik Willis yet?
No.
Pittsburgh, we both agree, could potentially look to trade up for Malik Willis. Okay. I think this is the type of area where I could see Pittsburgh making that jump because the price wouldn't be quite as much.
Right. This is about where we traded him last year. We got a future first and a third. So that's
I can see this being a trade that makes sense.
Right. I agree.
All right, let's see.
Because I think Pittsburgh, I think if Malik Willis got to the Saints, I could see the Saints taking Malik Willis at 16. So maybe Pittsburgh would want to trade up to get ahead of New Orleans.
Yeah. Now I'm trying to.
New Orleans could also. Well, no, New Orleans wouldn't have to. It's interesting, but they wouldn't for Pittsburgh to make that move at this point.
I don't even know if you're allowed to. Oh, can you change the team?
Yes, you can. Yep, just go right there. Click.
Oh, you can change the team.
Yep.
Okay. Steelers give up 20. It doesn't matter. We're only doing the first round, so I'll just force the trade. But I would say a future similar to the trade we made last year.
Yes.
Let's just whatever. We're only doing the first round, so I'll give them like 5 picks just to make it go. I'll force the trade. There we go. So we have the Steelers coming up to get their quarterback. I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's resume the draft. How do I get back to players now? I don't want to trade.
Just,
there
just
we go.
click on Pittsburgh there, maybe.
There we go. I got it. All right. So we're going to have Malik Willis going to Pittsburgh. They move up. They get their guy. I could certainly see that. All right, Houston. Who did Houston take at 3? They took
Quanu.
yeah, they took Quanu.
Yep.
So,
every position.
Every position. So you're just looking at BPA at this point, right?
Yeah.
Kevin Lloyd, Drake London. If they're going to go receiver, Jameson Williams. Injury concerns there.
Yeah.
They already addressed the line a little bit.
I could see them going wide receiver.
I could too.
Perhaps,
Yeah. Which receiver?
Loftus is another one. I mean, just since they need every position, who the hell knows what they would do here?
I could see them taking McDuffie too. I see people saying that in the chat. They could take a corner. Yeah, let's do it. Let's give them McDuffie. I wouldn't be surprised if they went that route. They could use a corner. They could use everything.
Yeah, that's what it says.
And Hollyman, thank you so much. What's up, you legends? You guys make my day. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for being
here. Holly.
Baltimore needs D-line help. I've seen some mocks where Baltimore goes interior defensive line with this pick.
I'd give him Karlaftis at this point.
You like Karlaftis?
If he falls all the way to 14, they need line help.
One guy that I've had going to them is Jordan Davis. And I could also see a guy like Linderbaum potentially, or a guard potentially here.
Yep.
Karlaftis is also a possibility. What does the chat think? What does the chat think? Jordan Davis or Wyatt. So you like the interior defensive lineman as well. Karlaftis or Jordan Davis. Karlaftis fits. Let's go Karlaftis.
Right.
Let's go Karlaftis. I can see that for sure. Let's go Karlaftis. All right, Karlaftis goes to Baltimore. Will, thank you very much. Seems like Karlaftis has dropped on boards. Why? I mean, I think he hasn't dropped too much. He's kind of been in this area for the most part. Maybe early on in the process, he was going top 6 or 7. But he's probably been around where he is. But I think the main reason why is he doesn't necessarily pose the same upside as some of these other edge prospects. Right. He didn't have
he's not as high probably in that.
Yeah, I think that's the feeling, that his ceiling probably isn't necessarily as high as some of these prospects. Not to mention, he may not be the best schematic fit for some of these teams. A lot of people project him to be a hand in the dirt defensive end who doesn't necessarily project to be an outside linebacker type player. So that may have something to do with it as well. But he's kind of been in the same area, I feel, for the majority of the offseason. All right, Eagles. Eagles could go wide receiver. Or
I'm giving them, yes. There's a couple of possibilities for the Eagles. But I think, honestly, there's talk about trading Jalen Reagor. Arcega Whiteside's garbage. And I know I joke around with them, always taking wide receiver. But I think Drake London makes sense here for the simple fact, I think with their next pick, which is in a couple picks, they could get Nakobe Dean or they could get Jordan Davis. I think that one of those guys would fall to them. And I don't think that – I think Drake London makes the most sense for them at 15 to where they could possibly get one of those other guys at 18.
So now they got 2 young wide receivers and obviously with last year's draft pick. So and when you look at the wide receiver market, you could certainly argue it may be worth it to get some of these guys on a rookie deal when you see what some of these guys are getting paid now.
I mean, I think that at 15, I think that makes the most sense for them because I think the Chargers would take London if he fell to 17. But
you're fixing up for your potential future quarterback. They got an extra first round pick next year where they could potentially trade up. I could see it. I could certainly see them going wide receiver. I've had them doubling up on defense, but with wide receivers,
it's possible they could double up on defense too.
Let's give them a receiver. I could certainly see it. Saints up next. Saints, it says biggest needs are quarterback, wide receiver, tackle. Willis is already off the board. Pickett's available. They traded up to 16 and 19, which was kind of a little bit of a head scratcher because you don't even know who's going to be there. So they're obviously a potential candidate that could move up again with these 2 picks if they really like a quarterback. But in this spot, Kenny Pickett gets there. They could think long-term. This has been a team that traditionally likes to draft offensive linemen relatively early. What are you feeling here?
I mean, this is tough. Chris Olave could go here. I think if they went Pickett, it would be 19 because obviously Los Angeles isn't taking a quarterback. Philadelphia is not taking a quarterback. So I could see Olave. I don't think they don't need a center because they drafted Ruiz a couple of years ago, so they wouldn't go Linderbaum here. Who's the best wide receivers on the board?
I mean, it's probably Jameson Williams, but there's a little bit of injury concerns there.
Yeah.
He's last on their board. Olave would probably be most people's number one. Then you got Sky Moore, who I think is more of a second round pick.
Yeah.
Burks is ranked low on their site. Let me go over the wide receivers. You got Olave, you got Pickens, who's probably a front end second round pick.
Yeah.
Burks is probably next best, in my opinion, after Olave. I think Olave, Jameson Williams, and Burks are probably the top three.
Yeah, I would give him Olave here.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick. You can certainly see them doing that. All right, Chargers. Chargers. I think did we take McDuffie yet?
We did. The Texans took him.
Oh, we did.
Yeah.
So let me look at the corners, because corners definitely in need of theirs. I've heard. Jordan Davis makes a ton of sense here, because I've read that they need help on the interior of their defense. Let me look at the corners. But I think Jordan Davis is my pick here.
I could definitely see Jordan Davis going there.
Elam's a nice cornerback that the Giants have potential interest in. He's a big physical corner if they traded back. Andrew Booth. So those are definitely possibilities there. But I think I like Davis. I do.
Jordan Davis. I could see that.
I think I like Davis. All right, let's do it. Eagles. All right, so now
I think if Devin Lloyd gets there at 18, I think they'd be stupid not to take him. They need linebackers. I would absolutely hate this scenario for Philadelphia.
I
would hate it. But I'm giving him Devin Lloyd here.
I agree with you. I think Devin Lloyd will be an Eagle if he gets to 18, which I think he could.
Yeah.
All right.
Pickett. I'm going Pickett here, Chris.
Pickett makes sense. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. He's got to go somewhere, and this is one of the spots.
Yes.
Vikings traded back. They could go corner here with one of the guys.
They could go Linderbaum here too. This is where the Linderbaum thing. This is where I think Linderbaum is going to. I think Linderbaum is going to go to the Vikings, the Packers, possibly the Cowboys. But yeah, they could use.
I think I could see it. I could certainly see Linderbaum here. It's kind of the right spot to take him. I'll let the chat decide. I'll let the chat decide. I can see
Booth. A lot of them like Booth for this pick.
They like Booth.
Yeah.
Let's go Booth then. Yeah, because I think corner's their biggest need. That's everything.
A lot of them picking Booth. It's pretty much a majority of people are.
So they traded back. They still got a pretty good cornerback, and they got themselves a future first round pick, which makes a ton of sense for Minnesota, because they could be moving on from Cousins soon. Patriots 21 wide receiver's been in need of theirs forever, but they don't traditionally take a first round wide receiver. Edge, linebacker. I've had Karlaftis going here to them in a lot of my mocks, but in this one he's not there.
Maybe Nakobe Dean goes here.
Nakobe Dean could make sense.
Yeah,
Nakobe Dean could make sense. Cornerback they say is a need as well. I don't hate that Nakobe Dean suggestion.
Yeah, I could see Nakobe Dean going there.
Dean, Wyatt, Dean. A lot of people say Dean. All right, let's go Dean.
Yeah, let's go Dean.
Packers on the board. Wide receivers, obviously, a huge need of theirs.
Yeah. They need a wide receiver.
Huge need of theirs. And they got 2 picks, though. They got 20, 22, and 28.
Yeah.
So they're simply going with a receiver with one of them.
Yes.
Let's do it here. Let's take a look. We said Jameson Williams or Burks.
Yep.
I'm trying to think who would fit better. Jameson Williams. Let's see what the chat thinks. Jameson Williams.
Yeah, a lot of them pick Williams.
Let's go Jameson Williams. Cardinals. Offensive line here probably.
Yeah, they need offensive line pretty bad.
Interior.
I would give them Linderbaum at 23. That's
Linderbaum. Yeah,
I mean, they also need the guards. You go Zion Johnson, Kenyon Green, but I mean, maybe Zion Johnson and Kenyon Green make more sense since the positional value will probably be higher than a center. So I'd probably give him one of those 2 guards.
You want to go guard first? All right.
I think I would give him Kenyon Green or Zion Johnson here. They need guards pretty bad.
All right, we'll go. Let's go with you want to go with Zion or you want to go with Green?
Well, let's ask the chat. I see Johnson there. I see Linderbaum.
Johnson.
Yeah.
They have 0 edge rushers. That's a need as well. And they in the past they have not drafted offensive linemen early.
No.
Johnson.
Yeah.
Let's go with Johnson. I prefer to see Johnson.
Yep.
All right, Zion Johnson goes to the Cardinals, and I'm going to tell you what, I think the Cowboys are going line.
Yep, they're going Linderbaum.
They could go Linderbaum. I'm going to throw another name out there as a possibility because they lost Collins, their tackle. Penning. Is Penning a possibility here to the Cowboys?
Definitely, yeah. Good call.
You could go Linderbaum. You could go Penning. You could go with Kenyon Green. Certainly a possibility. I think it's one of those three. But I think the Cowboys are definitely going line. I see Wyatt. I want to Green. Kenyon Green. Linderbaum for sure or Kenyon Green. All right, let's go. They did take Biotish. Oh, good call. They took Biotish.
But he's awful.
Yeah, they traded up to get him. I don't know how he's been performing. But
he's awful. He's pretty bad. And this is his third year, so he's got one more year. But again, position of value perhaps gives him Kenyon Green.
All right, let's go Green. I could see any one of those guys. So
yeah,
we'll go Green to the Cowboys. Bills, wide receiver, defensive interior.
We trade up and get Linderbaum.
I think at this point the Titans will probably go Linderbaum with the next pick. They need interior help.
Who are the wide receivers for Buffalo?
Let's see. Wide receivers. You got Pickens, Sky Moore, Traylon Burks.
Yeah.
Dotson. He's a good receiver prospect. Christian Watson had an impressive combine and pro day. I don't think anybody else is in the discussion.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's in the discussion either. Let's see. People are saying Wyatt for.
Oh yeah, they do. Oh, the other defensive tackle from. I could see that for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I see a lot of Wyatt or Burks. We'll give him Wyatt.
Good call. He had a great pro day as well. The other interior defensive lineman for the.
I said Georgia's got 1 million defenders coming out of this year's draft.
Yeah, that's a good call. I definitely could see that. Titans now, and everything I've read is the Titans need help with the guard. Like I've heard that a ton, but in this spot we've got the two best guards off.
Yeah,
they list center as a need. I don't know the Titans offensive line well enough to know if it's an immediate need. But if it is, I think Linderbaum's probably the pick here.
Yep.
So I'll let the chat tell me. Burks is a stud. Tyler Smith. I have a feeling Trevor Penning is tackle a need for them. See a lot of people saying Tyler Smith. Giants brought him in for a visit. Goblins, man, thank you for being a member for 4 months. He says, yo, I'm just checking in. I'm at work with you guys streaming so early. Only people who can come in on a stream this time are night shift or kids. Well, this week we're doing the midday stream just leading up to the draft. So we're doing it every day. We're going to be on Baddog's channel tomorrow.
Yes. But we will, we'll be live for the draft every night too. And we're only doing this because I'm on vacation this week. And there's no wife or kid here. So this works out good for me. This is why we did this shift. It's just better for me because when my wife and kid are here, forget it. That'd be difficult to be doing these at 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening.
For sure.
Yeah.
I'm trying to. A lot of people saying the tackle prospect. Will says, side note, I like going linebacker / tight end in the third round. I agree with you. Specifically, probably both of those positions. We could get in the third round at the linebacker spot. There's a lot of tight ends. What edge is available? Okay, Brandy, let me take a quick look. Edge. You've got the guy from Penn State, however it's pronounced.
Yeah.
Benito, Drake Jackson, who's had he's a guy with a high ceiling. Boye Mafe is David Ajabo could be a stash guy. So those are the potential players there off the edge.
I can't see him going edge. I think all those guys fall to the second round.
Elam's a possibility. I think he will be a first round pick, but it doesn't say they need a cornerback. It does see that they need a wide receiver, maybe Traylon Burks. I think they're going line here. Everything I've read, I think they're going line. But Tyler Smith, they need guard. All right, let's take a look. Probably a little bit of a reach.
Penning. Somebody says Penning. I see Penning in there.
He's a tackle, but the Giants did bring in Tyler Smith for a visit. I think he's projected to be a guard. They have him listed as a tackle. Let's go there. I think they're going guard. Everything I've read, I think they're going guard. So maybe a little bit of a reach here, but there's going to be reaches in the first round.
Yeah, there is.
Bucks on the clock. Guard, center, interior, defensive line. Those are their 3 listed needs.
Makes sense there too.
We'll go Linderbaum here. I don't think Linderbaum's getting out of the first round.
I don't either. He's not getting past Cincinnati. At the very latest, Cincinnati would suck him up like a Hoover.
Yeah. We'll go Linderbaum. All right, let's go. Green Bay Packers. They already got their wide.
Give him Burks here. Burks is still on the board for wide receiver, right?
Didn't they already take one though? They took one at.
Did we give him one?
Yeah, Jameson Williams. They
took I didn't know we gave him one.
They could double up. I wouldn't be surprised, but I doubt it. They don't traditionally take wide receiver early. I think they will this year with one of them though.
Well, maybe Raymond goes here then. Raymond goes here. They need offensive line help.
Let's see. The one thing that they could use another edge, right? I mean, they lost to Darius Smith. I know it's not listed as one of their biggest needs, but I could see that. They always seem to struggle against the run as well. I don't know how they were this year in that department. They need line. Trevor Penning, Ajabo. He'd be a stash guy. I don't know how much I like the Ajabo pick for the Packers because they're trying to compete for a Super Bowl this year. I'm not saying it would be an horrendous pick. I just don't know if they would do it. D-line, Packers need right O-line. Ajabo. NY Giants 26, man, thank you. He says, Jermaine to the Jets at 4 getting buzzed. Yeah, I saw that earlier. We talked about that during the stream.
Let me hit the rain room real quick. I'll be right back.
Go hit it, man.
Rain room. The rain room.
Jordan Davis is gone already. You want to go Penning? Do they need a tackle? If they need a tackle, I think Penning makes sense. I'm not the biggest fan of Penning. If the Giants draft Penning, I'll probably rip my laptop in half on draft night. But getting them this late is not a bad pick. Let's go Penning. Best available, according to this, is Raymond, who I read it could be falling down mock draft charts. I think he was a guy that they said had medical issues. I don't know how legitimate that was. You got Lewis Sign, the safety. You've got Sky Moore. This is according to their rankings, at least. Travis Jones, interior defensive line. Pickens. I don't necessarily agree with these rankings, but that's what they have. Let's see. Pickens, Packers. They already took a wide receiver, though, Corey. I don't think they're going to take 2. If they need a right tackle, I think it makes sense to go Penning. Let's go Penning. Chiefs on the clock. Chiefs need a wide receiver. I think we could all agree on that. I think they're taking a wide receiver with one of these 2 picks. And I think
Burks is still there.
Burks is still there, but a guy that I think fits their offense better, and I don't know if they'll take him. I'm a big fan of Jahan Dotson, and I don't know if this has since changed. I've seen Dotson go in there in a lot of mocks, but I think Dotson would fit their offense really well. Jaquan Brisker, somebody says Dotson, Pickens, Moore, Pickens, Jahan Dotson, safety, Burks. All right.
What they do with Pickens? Pickens is just injury prone. He is a head case. He's really good, but he's a little touched in the head.
All right, let's go. Let's go Burks. People want Burks, we'll go Burks. I think it's a wide receiver. We're taking a receiver with one of these picks.
Right.
All right, we'll go Burks. Chiefs on the clock again. Now they say D-line cornerback. Let me look at cornerbacks. Elam's still available. Who I like. I don't know how well he fits their defensive scheme, but I like him a lot. I'm a fan of Elam. So I think Elam could make sense for the Chiefs here at 30. Chiefs need secondary help. Let's go with that. Let's go with Elam. I think he makes sense. Or Elam, however it's pronounced. Bengals on the clock. Offensive line.
They need offensive line in the worst way.
Guard and center specifically are mentioned. Let's take a look at the interior offensive lineman. There. That could not be the best available. Is that the best?
It could be, though.
They're not taking it then. If that's the. Hold on. Let me look at center specifically. Maybe
they could also use a corner, Chris. We talked about that before. Their cornerbacks suck.
Well, let's see. Offensive. There is a huge drop off on the interior offensive line after top 3. Their cornerbacks do suck. They had Eli Apple starting last year.
Yeah, so maybe they need a corner at this juncture. It might be better value for them.
I like Brandy's suggestion here too. I could see. I'm not going to do it because it's late in the draft, but I could definitely see it happening on draft night. This is a clear trading out pick. For a team that may want to come up and get a quarterback. I think that makes a ton of sense. There's still only 2 quarterbacks are off the board. I could certainly see that a team maybe in the early in the second round trading back up and they get future draft capital. That could make a lot of sense at this pick. Petre, somebody said O-line or secondary.
I see Dax Hill, Russ and Dax
Jackson
Hill.
Hill, he's an interesting prospect out of Michigan. You can kind of play him all over in the secondary along with Petrie. Both of them you can.
Right. Very, yeah.
All right. Well, let's go Daxton Hill. Let's go Daxton Hill because I want Petrie to the Giants. And the Lions are on the clock. Do the
Malik
Lions?
Willis.
Willis is gone, isn't he?
Did somebody take Malik Willis?
I think, yeah, we had the Steelers trade up to get Willis.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
I think they could go quarterback here, though. And now it's just a question of preference. Is it Howell? Is it Ritter? Is it Corral? I think those are your three guys.
I think Ritter's the best of those three.
Yeah, I'm on board with that. I
forgot we traded up with. I forgot we had Pittsburgh trade up.
All right, let's go with Ritter. So yeah, just going over it real quick, guys. This is our first round mock draft. Aiden Hutchinson, I think that's pretty fair. I mean, it could be a number of guys, but Aiden Hutchinson, Trayvon Walker, Iquanu, Kayvon Thibodeau. So we got 3 edges going to the top 4. We got FDL going to the Giants, which you guys are probably really happy about. Charles Cross to the Panthers. Ahmad Gardner to the Giants at 7. That's the dream. Jermaine Johnson, who's been creeping up draft boards, 8 to the Falcons. Stingley to the Seahawks. Garrett Wilson, the first receiver off the board to the Jets. Kyle Hamilton goes to Washington at 11. Malik Willis. The Steelers traded up to give up a future first-round pick to get their quarterback. Trent McDuffie, pretty much the consensus number 3 cornerback prospect in this draft.
Right.
Goes to Houston. Karlaftis, Baddog like that pick there to Baltimore. I could definitely see that. Drake London to the Eagles. So they do take another first-round wide receiver. Olave, 3rd wide receiver off the board to the Saints. Then you got Kenny Pickett. I'm sorry, Jordan Davis, who I love. I friggin' love Jordan Davis.
Yeah.
I friggin' love him. Devin Lloyd to the Eagles. Kenny Pickett, 2nd quarterback off the board to the Saints. Vikings trade down, still get a pretty good cornerback at 20 with Andrew Booth. N'Kobe Dean goes to the Patriots. Jameson Williams, wide receiver. I think that's the 4th off the board to the Packers. Arizona finally takes a lineman in the first round, something they haven't done in a bit. They go towards Zion Johnson. Cowboys, I'd be somewhat surprised if they don't go line. They get a really good one here with Kenyon Green, the guard. Wyatt makes a lot of sense. Bills need to address the run defense. You saw it last year in the playoffs. Tyler Smith, probably the biggest reach, but I could see it. Who's going to project to be a guard for the Titans. Linderbaum to the Bucks. Trevor Penning to the Packers. Treylon Burks, again, obvious. Chiefs are taking a receiver with one of those picks.
Yes.
Elam, good value there. Good cornerback, Daxton Hill, and Desmond Ridder. I think that's a pretty good first-round mock.
I do too. You know what's funny? I think we did this last year, and I think there was Eagle fans in the chat when we did it for real, and they're like, "Why don't you guys? Can you guys pick for the Eagles?" Because I swear to God, when we do it for real, seems like we give the Eagles pretty good picks. I think if you asked Eagles fans, if they walked out of the draft with Drake London and Devin Lloyd, I think they'd be pretty happy with those 2 picks.
Yeah, and I think now just speaking from a Giants perspective off of this, and I'm hoping that one of these interior offensive linemen drop. That'd be ideal if Linderbaum drops or Kenyon Green or whoever. They didn't in this spot. We already got our cornerback. I think you're looking at the edge rusher from Penn State as a possibility.
Nick Bonito from Oklahoma is another possibility.
Yeah,
yeah.
And I think you're looking at those safeties as well, or a wide receiver if they like one.
Right.
But I think those are probably what you're looking at in the second round. If it played out this way, I'm hoping that one of these guys that are going in the back end of the first round find a way to slip, or maybe we trade up to grab one of them. But that's the way I think my mind would be if this exact scenario played out.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this was a pretty good first round draft. What did they give us a grade or no?
Oh,
you can scroll down. I don't know if it does. I know it does when you do
when you do an individual team. Yeah. I don't think I could be wrong, but yeah.
It didn't. I didn't know if it did or not.
Yeah.
It just says player grades up there, but
I know Allison asked us to do a Giants one. We'll save that for tomorrow, Allison, just because we didn't want to go much later than 1. But just swing by Baddogs. We'll be doing it there, and we'll be doing plenty of 6-round mock drafts the day of the draft. And we'll have some of you guys chime in, and we'll do trade down scenarios. We'll do all of it.
Yeah, we'll do a lot of stuff. We got all week, guys and girls, and I'm loving it, man. I'm having a lot of fun, Chris. This is awesome. You know, obviously, talking Giants has been we really haven't done a lot of shows because there hasn't been much to talk about, but now. This is a perfect week for me to take vacation, and I love it. I'm having a blast. Like, I wake up early in the morning, I get my kid ready for school. I go back to sleep, but I know, like, when I wake up at like 6 or whatever it is to get him ready for school, I'm sitting there, and I do go back. Like I said, I do go back and lay down. But when I'm eating my breakfast at like 9 o'clock, I'm like, 2 hours. Get to talk about the draft. I'm excited, man. And I just, we've had a really bad. I mean, 5 years have been horrible, and I know every year, like I said, hope springs eternal. But 2 top 10 picks, new regime. Let's go. It's about damn time. So I'm just excited to see what we do. I want to see what our new toys are under the tree, and hopefully we kill this draft, man. And if we ended up with Neal and Sauce, I'm a happy man on Thursday night.
Oh, if we get Neal and Sauce, I'd be ecstatic. If we get Neal and Thibodeau, I'm gonna be happy if we get Cross even. And I know some fans won't be. Get me a freaking tackle that I think projects to be a high-end tackle in the NFL. I said this on Twitter a couple of weeks ago, maybe about a month or two ago. If the Giants get one of these top 3 tackle prospects, you can make an argument that it will be the biggest improvement at any singular position in the NFL. Going from Nate Solder to one of these 3 guys.
Yes.
So I will welcome them with open arms, whoever we end up with at that spot. It's obviously a huge need of this team. And I'm going to be ecstatic on draft night if we end up with any of the 3. Have my preference, but I'm going to be happy if we get any one of those 3 tackles. And if you get a defensive playmaker with the other pick, I think it'll be a happy night for Giants fans. Let's just hope nothing crazy happens. We don't get ripped off in a trade down scenario.
Right.
As long as something like that doesn't happen, I think we're good to go. I think Shane's going to deliver us a pretty good draft, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, same here for sure.
Will says, have you guys checked out Matt Araiza? Yeah. We actually mocked him in our first mock draft yesterday in the 6th round, even though I don't think he's getting to the 6th round. But he did in the simulation we did yesterday. So we had a mock to the Giants with our last pick. But yeah, that guy's a weapon, man. Out of San Diego State, he's a weapon. Definitely one of the better punter prospects to come out in a while. And T says, when is your Eagles? That'll be Thursday. That'll be the last mock we do. We'll do like a goof Eagles mock draft. Maybe we'll go a little bit later that day, maybe an extra half hour or whatever. But we'll do like a goof Eagles mock draft as our last mock draft, like we did last.
Absolutely. Yeah. Shout out to Orphanage DeGrom who ccame up with that idea last year. So
yes, for sure. And
that'll be a staple.
And Authentic, man, appreciate you for popping in. He's been with me forever. If you guys haven't, he's a great guy. I've gotten to meet him in person as well. If you guys haven't gotten an opportunity to check out his page, Authentic in the Beard, check him out. They do a great job. Appreciate you for popping in, man. Fabian, what's going on? Sub, ring the bell. Appreciate that. T, appreciate it. OVO said, I'll answer a couple of your questions for like 5-10 minutes, and we're going to call it a stream. OVO says, how do you guys feel about the Giants trading 5 to the Saints? G-Man gets 7. Oh, well, they don't get. They keep 7. Right. They get 16 and 19 for 5. I'll let you speak on it, and then I'll go.
Well, you mentioned it earlier. For me, it would definitely depend on who's still on the board. You do not want to miss out on one of the elite tackles. You can't chance trading 5 because you see the drop off after Neal, Cross, and Ekwonu. The Giants can't afford to miss out there. So to me, it would depend. And like Chris said, that's a massive drop. 5 to 16 it's a massive drop in talent. It would depend on what the Giants feel is necessary there. You get 2 pretty good players at 16 and 19, but like I said, if there's 2 guys going, if Ekwonu and Neal are going on the top 4, which is possible, Giants can't trade that 5th pick. There's no way. Maybe they could trade 7 for 16 and 19 if they got that tackle and Sauce was off the board. But yeah, it really depends on who's there. But there's no way if there's 1 tackle there that you can trade that pick back and hope that Carolina doesn't take them. So I'd stand pat. I'd have that's a tough sell for me.
Yeah, if I'm trading down, and again, it all depends on the draft board. Like if no tackles go in the top 4, like with the simulation we did yesterday, I'd be more open to trading the 5th pick. But if not, I stay at 5. If I'm going to trade a pick, I'd prefer it to be the 7 to the Saints. Now, maybe the Saints wouldn't do that because they'd want to jump the Panthers to potentially get a quarterback. So I understand that line of thinking as well if you're trying to orchestrate a trade scenario. But I'm personally not in love with that. I really am not. And I suppose it depends on the board and how the Giants evaluate these players. But for me, the value of trading down is getting more draft capital for 2023. Mm-hmm. That to me should be the primary focus. If the Giants are trading down in that scenario, you don't do that. I'm not denying you could still get impact players there. You could still get maybe a Nakobe Dean or a Lloyd or Kenyon Green, an interior offensive lineman or a wide receiver. That opens up the possibility there. But for me, if I could get a premier player at a cornerstone piece, I'm not looking to do that unless I could, like I said, it could potentially help my future draft where I may need to trade up and get a quarterback. So I'm personally not in love with the idea of trading down to get 16 and 19, especially being that New Orleans no longer has a future first round pick because they traded it to the Eagles. So I won't be thrilled on draft night if they do that. Let's put it that way. And I think I had one more to read. And New York Giants 26 says, "Sing Ring My Bell on draft night." Yeah, if I remember, I'll definitely try to. I'll definitely have a couple of beers with me. We'll have some fun.
Yes, even I'm gonna cheat on my diet for the draft with the beer on 4 pints of Heineken. Let's go.
Yeah, I can't wait for the draft. It's always fun with you guys.
Yeah.
And appreciate all you guys for tuning in. Always have fun doing these streams. We'll be live on Baddog same time tomorrow, 11 o'clock. Probably go for about the same amount of time, 2 hours and change. So definitely go over there, check it out. Hopefully there'll be a little bit more to talk about. Maybe some more rumors will start to spry. And yeah,
and of course we'll do another mock draft as always. So
yeah, we'll do it. We'll do another 6-round mock. Maybe we'll do 2 of them. We'll do different scenarios, whatever you guys suggest. Just want to have fun, talk to you guys about the draft for a couple of hours. But thank you to everybody for tuning in, and Bad Dog, man, thank you for coming on.
Oh, absolutely, man. Like I said, this is it's a fun time of year when your team is really bad. This is really what we have to look forward to. And again, new regime, new coaching staff, 2 top 10 picks. This is a very important draft for us, no doubt. And I'm excited to see what we do. All the speculation, man, it's always fun. It's a lot of fun to talk about what this team could do, what that team could do. We could use this guy, that guy, do a lot of mock drafts to see the different scenarios. But Thursday night is when we know for sure what we're doing going forward. And I'm looking forward to the rest of this week with you and the best chat on YouTube. And of course, the entire draft. It's going to be awesome. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. And real quick, Fabian, I try to answer a couple of you guys' questions on the way out. I mean, the worst possible pick for the Giants, realistically speaking. I'm saying realistic. Again, I'm not in love with the quarterback, so I want to say that if they take a quarterback, I'm not going to be happy. If they take a wide receiver, I'm not going to be thrilled. But excluding that, if they don't go that route, which I don't think they will at 5 or 7, the one guy that would concern me, and again, I wouldn't be fuming if they did it because I see the potential. But the one guy that would scare me a little bit would be Stingley. And I know some Giants fans like Stingley. His injury concerns scare me a bit. And the fact that he has not performed at as high of a level as he did in 2019 now for 2 years scares me a bit. He definitely has a ton of potential. And you may even be able to argue has a higher upside than Ahmad Gardner. But that one would scare me a bit.
Yeah. For me, and again, they're not going to do it. But I think if they took a wide receiver – in the top 10, I would lose my mind. That's just it's a luxury position. We can't afford luxury positions here. So they're not going to do that. They're not going to take a quarterback. But to me, those are 2 positions that they just have to wait till next year to deal with. You're rebuilding, and you're not rebuilding with one of these quarterbacks, and you definitely don't rebuild with a wide receiver. So to me, it's about the line of scrimmage. It's offensive and defensive line to me, or corner if Ahmad Gardner's there. So we'll see. But
can't wait. And Giants 26 says Dave's calls the O-line boulders. I'll get working on the emojis after the draft. And I'll let you guys give some suggestions.
The blue boulders.
Yeah, I'll try to come up with a big blue boulder, maybe a big blue wall. We got to get rid of Gettleman. I know he's an emoji. We got to get rid of Judge. So we'll get the new coach, the new GM. Yeah. But guys, thank you guys so much for being here. Appreciate it. We'll see you guys tomorrow. And Bando, close it out.
All right, guys. Goes, yes. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Thank you for all the support on both channels. We really do appreciate it. And yeah, tomorrow, 11 o'clock, come on by my channel. We'll do it again. We'll talk more draft, have some more mock drafts, and we're one day closer to the actual draft. So enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. The Antane Talk Sports. Bad diggity dizzle. We gone. Peace.
And